Now, Kerry and I have just recently completed a series of workshops around the up to the north of Queensland and around the southeast Queensland. We went to Brisbane, and it was actually videoed while we were there. So we have a recording. If something goes wrong with this one this afternoon, we actually have a recording of it. So you will get some sort of recording, whether it's this one, because it behaved itself, or the one that we did in Brisbane. It'll be practically the same.
And the one we did in Brisbane is very professional and very slick. Probably better than this one because we don't have our living rooms in the background.
No, we don't. And no, we don't. Okay, so if you'd like to grab hold of your syllabus now, I know that there's some teachers who are not keyboard teachers, and you should have a syllabus that's relevant to you. We are more than happy to walk you through that, but because predominantly most of the participants this afternoon are keyboard teachers, we will be talking to this one, but your other syllabi are all the same. They still have all the basic general things in them, and that's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. So if you would like to turn to your very first goodness. Okay, if you'd like to turn to your syllabus on the general information page on page 3, that shows you where our address is. We have a new address now at Nunawading. Tony, would you like to give us the address exactly of that one, please? Okay, so Tony's going to put that address down in the chat section so that you'll have it, because in your syllabus, it's got the old address. ANZCA has shifted to a beautiful new office in Nunawading, and so that'll be the phone numbers and all that stay the same. So right, the other thing I need to point out is the admin at anzca.com, the email address. It's actually got to put an AU after that, so it's ANZCA. It's admin at anzca.com.au. Just make sure you put the AU after it. Okay. All right, so then we have all the representatives, all the state representatives down the bottom of that page, and I'm the Queensland state representative. If you turn over, you've got all the local representatives in your state, and we have that's a growing area. If you would like to be an ANZCA rep in your state, in your area, please contact the office, because we're always looking for enthusiastic, on-fire representatives, because we feel we have the best product, so we want to get it out there and show people that we have. Then you have the examiners on the page 5. If you have a look at the Queensland one, because Kerry and I are both in Queensland, of course, you'll see my name on the list, and Kerry's down further. It goes in alphabetical order. Right, and then keep coming over. Now, I'm going to briefly just mention the theory, page 8, because we'll be going in that in depth a little bit later. So theory's going through there. You can go right through to general information on page 20, which is just the requirements of the exam, and about page turning and backing tracks and all that sort of stuff. Sight reading, improvisation, which is a really important component of a modern exam for ANZCA, and we'll be going into that in depth, because Kerry and I found with all the workshops that we've done, people are really interested in the modern stream. Even though we offer classical and there's a performance exam and all sorts of stuff, the predominant interest is in the modern, and of course it comes with improvisation and embellishment, and that scares the socks off most teachers, but it's all good. By the time we finish this meeting this afternoon, you'll go, I can do that. Yes, I can do that, and you'll find that the kids absolutely love it. Okay, so you've got improvisation, oral tests, general knowledge. Now, I do want to speak to general knowledge at this point. Yes, I was going to do an in-depth at this point. With the general knowledge, I really want to point this out. When most kids go into an exam room and, you've grilled them and they've learnt it and they know their stuff, and they go in there, what's one of the first things you say when they come out of the exam room? You go, how did you go? And, did you know your scales? And how did you go through your... What questions did the examiner ask you? Don't you? You say that first to these kids. And some kids come out of an exam, not an ANZCA one, and kind of go, well, I didn't understand what she meant or he meant, right? No, I didn't know that. No, I'm kind of going, yes, you do. But it's the way the examiner asks it. Sometimes when you ask the questions, it's not the same as the examiner, and so the child knows it but doesn't know the answer because of the way the examiner has asked it. So ANZCA came on board, and if you have a look at page 29, where it says general knowledge, 28, it says number of questions. At all levels, the examiner will ask 4 main questions. Prompting or follow-up questions may be used if an answer is not quite adequate, with a possible deduction in marks. Okay, the wording of the questions. Now, this is really, really important because as examiners, both Kerry and I have to know this like a script. We can't ask it any different way. It has to be like it's exactly in the book. And what it says, this is on page 29, and we're talking about the introductory, the first little exam that the children do. The examiner will point to a sign and term and ask, what is this? And if applicable, what does it mean? And that's how we have to ask it. We can't point and say, what kind of note is this? We can't say that, right? We have to say, what is this and what does it mean? Are there 3 or 4 beats in each bar? We can't say, what does the time signature tell me? Not at introductory. This is what we have to say. And so what kind of note or rest is this, and how many beats is it worth, and what is the letter name of this note? Now, they're the 4 questions that a little introductory will get. And if you ask them that way, there's no surprises, none at all. As you go down to preparatory, it says...
Can I jump in there for a moment, Cynthia?
Yep.
Can I jump in there for a minute? And what we always say to the teachers is, when you're practicing the general knowledge with the students, open your syllabus and practice the questions as they are in the syllabus. And I always write the questions down in my kids' books so they can, at home, mum and dad can also practice that exact wording with them so there are no surprises. So as teachers, it's good to use the book because you know the wording to the question. I always say to the kids, it's like I'm giving you the test answers before the test. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Thanks, Kerry. Kerry and I always do this, even at a live conference. If one of us is sort of, has missed something out, the other one jumps in. So we're used to doing this with each other, aren't we, Kerry? So with the preparatory, it's the same questions as introductory, plus they have to know who is the composer of this piece. And then preliminary, what's gone on before in introductory and preparatory, and it says knowledge required and the questions. The examiner will point to a dotted note and ask, what does the dot do to the note? And explain the time signature of this beat. The candidate's answer should include the number of beats and the type of beats, and also for prelim, what is the main key of this piece. So do you see how they're very specific? They're very specific, and it goes right through to the upper grade, so there's no surprises. And I wanted to actually make sure we covered that because it's very, very important. If you want your students to get full marks, ask them as it is in the book, because as examiners we have to do that. Okay, good. Moving on. All right, Kerry, over to you for digital piano. Thanks, Dal.
Okay, now the digital piano syllabus is something that I really can't think of any other board that has. And the reason we got the digital piano syllabus is because how many of us have students who, when they start piano, their parents go, oh, I'm not sure if little Johnny's going to take to this. I think I'll just get a keyboard for the first couple of years and see. And we all go, oh my goodness. And hopefully down the track little Johnny gets a piano. But the thing is, they love using their keyboards. They've got all the different sounds they can use. You can play it on Chimes. I've got a little lass who, when we do an internet lesson, she will put it on a different setting for every piece, just because she can, and she loves playing with this. So ANZCA thought, let's harness this and use it to the children's advantage. So up until grade 4, you can actually enter the children for a digital piano exam. Now, the syllabus is very, very similar to the modern syllabus. So in many of the grades, and I won't go through them grade by grade, but if you have a look at the syllabus, you will see that it starts off by saying use this one from the modern syllabus, or then at grade 2 we add the ragtime, choose one from the ragtime syllabus, and so forth, and they gradually are using pieces that cross over. However, at the beginning levels, they say, okay, we're going to do one from a lead sheet. And this is so useful because it's starting to get them used to improvisation. And with that, they get a lead sheet and chords. And it's just like our improvisation test that Cynthia will talk about later. But they play the melody and use the lead sheet to put the chords. Then there's another list that says you have to use the backing track. And so it's like playing with the band, and they all love playing with the backing tracks, and it makes them keep in time. It's a sneaky way of playing with a metronome, but far much more fun. So they're getting to explore their keyboard as well as getting really awesome skills that's going to stand them into good stead when they go, oh, what have we got up there? Something's coming on the screen.
Sorry, you keep going, Kerry. I'm just trying to get this. There we are.
Okay, and so it gives a really, really good lead-in to the modern syllabus, but allows them to use all of the functions that they have on the keyboard. And when I first became an examiner, and I was told you will be examining modern digital piano, I went, horrors! That is way out of my comfort zone, because Cynthia mainly teaches modern with a bit of classical. I mainly teach modern, classical, but all my kids play modern as well. And so I had to very quickly become familiar with this. And I see the kids come into the exam and they're stoked because they love using all the devices on their keyboard. Like I said, it's like playing with a band at a very easy level. Okay, I think that's me done for the digital piano, Cynthia.
Okay. Sorry. Right, back. All right. Well, Kerry and I'd like to go through the introductory exam, because what happens with the introductory exam, it actually is the forerunner for both the modern and the classical stream. So it covers both genres. So we might see if I can get that back. Okay, can everyone see the introductory little cover? Oopsie.
I can see it, so everyone else probably can too.
All right. Now, what a good thing with this is the book is complete in itself. You just need the book, and it's got everything in it. It's got the technical work at the front, and if you can just see that, that's just little 5-finger exercises. Well, they're called scales, but they're little 5-finger scales, and some triads. And then right towards the back of the book is the general knowledge page. Now, with this general knowledge page, there's heaps of general knowledge on it, but what I do for my students is I photocopy. They only have to do 2 pieces, one from the front of the book and one from the back of the book, a list A and a list B. One of them is in triple time 3/4, and the other one is in quadruple time, the 4/4, and they just have to choose one of each one. That's all. And then the general knowledge is at the back. So what I do with my students is photocopy that page, and then we highlight up what's in their piece. They won't be asked anything that's not in their piece. So say, for example, it didn't have a dotted minim, right? The examiner's not going to come down and ask them what is a dotted minim, what is this and what does it mean, because it's not in their piece. So you only have to teach them they only have to know what's exactly in their piece, and that is the only thing the examiner's allowed to ask. So it's really, it's absolutely clear and transparent so that you know what to do there. And then the other thing that's at the back of the book, which is awesome, is the sample oral tests. So we've got the little clapping, and they don't have any sight reading at this level. Intervals and so forth and so on. So that's all that's in that book. Now, Kerry, would you like to talk about a couple of pieces?
Absolutely. I'd also like to give my overview of the introductory and my experience of it. So again, I was examining this long before I taught it, because I traditionally let my students get to preliminary before I put them in for an exam. But, and we will come to this later about having exams in your own studio, if you have, well, I'll just forerun it and then we'll mop it up again later. If you have 3 hours of examining, you can get the examiner to come to your home, which is awesome. My kids love it, and we'll talk about that more later. But this particular year, I had one grade 8 who wanted to sit not when I normally hold my exams. I thought, well, what can we do here? I had a whole bunch of new students. I put them all in for introductory in their first year. Hi, you've been having piano for 6 weeks. Would you like to do an introductory exam? Because the lead time from putting the entries in until when you have to do the exam is sufficient time for that. So I had, I think, 11 children sit introductory that year. And wow, I haven't looked back. Now I get all my first years to do the introductory exam, because they love it. Now, the reason we introduced introductory and preparatory, because most boards start at preliminary, we're the only board to my knowledge that has introductory and preparatory. We found kids love ANZCA exams so much. I know it's hard to believe if you've come from any other culture, but they literally come out going, that was awesome, when can I do the next one? That if you have a couple of siblings in the family, oldest child is doing their first exam, younger child is saying, but why don't I get to do one too? So that's where preparatory came in. Guess what? We got third child syndrome. So first 2 children are sitting their exam, third child's going, what about me? I'm always left out because I'm the third one. So we introduced introductory, and this is specifically designed for children in their first year of piano. It can be as easy as you want, and it can be as hard as you want. And I've got to tell you about Chloe. Chloe was 4, and she was one of the ones I put in the first year for the introductory. Chloe was the untamable child. She had her parents sitting crying. She had them round her little finger. It was hilarious. Anyway, we tamed Chloe, and I said, hey, Chloe, how about we do a piano exam? That would be very grown up. And she went from untamable, horrible child to thoroughly enjoying it and getting honours for her introductory. So the pieces, as I said, can be really easy or quite challenging. So one of the easier pieces is the little waltz. Cynthia, do you have that up to put up on the screen?
Yep.
Or Tony, someone could put that up on the screen. Well, while Cynthia's getting it up on the screen, I will tell you, that's okay. Little Waltz, the pieces are very good, because you know how some method books start in middle C position and other books start in C position. This book caters for both. There are several that you can do in C position. There are several choices that you can do in middle C position, and Little Waltz is one that is in middle C position. At the other end of the gambit, if we get the photo up, you'll see it, but there's one called leapfrogs, or is it leaping frogs, and it involves a lot of cross hand, so the right hand is steady and the left hand is jumping back and forward all the time. The kids think they are the bee's knees if they play this piece. And what I tend to do with the introductory book, because I introduce it so early and I want the parents to get value out of the book, often I will say, let's choose our exam pieces, which are super easy for them, and then I say, let's see how many other pieces we can learn, because every time I get a child to do a piece, they get a sticker on the piece. So when the examiner opens your book, they'll be blown away by how clever you are, and you've done so many pieces in the book and got so many stickers. And I've had a couple of children who've actually completed the entire book before the exam, and the top piece is the Leaping Frogs, because that is quite a tricky piece at introductory level. And so you can make it as easy as you like or as tricky as you like, but it's a really good launching pad for the students. Over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Kerry. Tony, can you hear me? Sorry, my screen's gone all haywire. Are you able to do the PDFs for me?
Yep, I'm hoping it's on the screen now, is it? Or
Yes.
No, the introductory is,
The introductory.
but the cover.
okay, what do you want next? You want the next page?
I wanted to see Leaping Frogs, please, and Little Waltz. Back to Little Waltz. See the Little Waltz, what I was saying? This is in middle C position. There's no sharps or flats. There's only one bar and a bit of hands together playing. So this is a really easy option for the child that hasn't been in the studio for very long. Now, Tony, can we have a quick squiz at the Leaping Frogs, please? There it is. So can everyone see that the right hand is static and the left hand is going over and back 3 times in this piece? The children love playing this piece. Thanks, Tony, for getting that up for us. Over to you, Cyn.
Okay, thanks, Kerry. All right, so Tony, could you give us the cover of the preparatory book, please? I'm going to go through that now with in detail. Righto. If you turn in your syllabus to page 43. This is your. I'm going to talk to you about the modern syllabus this afternoon. Kerry will come on over and do the classical shortly, but I really want to talk to you about the modern because, as I said, this is the one that we get asked about all the time, and it will be on page 43 is where it. 42 is where it starts, and then 43. You've got technical work, and you have to. In the booklet, it has all the scales at the front. At the back of the booklet, you've got sample oral tests and sight reading right at the back of the book. And in the book, you've got a choice of about 9 pieces. So for preparatory, they just say category 1, category 2, category 3. It's not sort of in, boogie. You know it's a boogie. You know it's a blues, a pop and rock or a blues, but they're not actually categorised like that. If you come across to the syllabus, you have a list of pieces that aren't the ANZCA pieces. They are right at the beginning. It says here, on page 43, 3 solos to be selected from the following list and presented for an examination. Candidates should be encouraged to embellish their pieces where appropriate, and up to 2 pieces may be accompanied by a backing track. That's a given right across the board, right from little. And so then it says ANZCA Modern Pianoforte Series 2 Preparatory, any 3 solos to be taken from at least 2 of the categories in the book. Now, it doesn't mean you have to stick to the book. You might take 1 or 2 pieces out of there and come across to the manual list. It's up to you. You can just, duck and weave in and out. You're not stuck with the book and you're not stuck with the manual list. It's a huge, wide variety of pieces that students can do. And then over a bit further, it's got sight reading, oral tests and general knowledge. Now, I've already been through the general knowledge for you. But with the oral tests and so forth, you've got them at the back of the book. If you want more tests, more sample tests, ANZCA have a book dedicated to that, right? It's an oral test book for teachers, and it goes right from preparatory right through to grade 8. Righto. Okay, so then we've got preliminary. Now, if you go to preliminary, again, this book includes all of the scales. It includes the sight reading and the oral test at the back. And with the scales, and I should have mentioned this for preparatory as well, you have the normal scales, and then you have option 2, which is I call them the sneaky, Clayton scales, the drink when you're not having a drink. It's the scales when you don't know you're doing it. You know how when you have little children and you try and feed them veggies and they don't want broccoli and they don't want carrot and they don't want pumpkin. So you disguise them somehow. You put them into soup or you put them into patties or you do something with them, right? And so they're really getting the veggies. Well, this is like, a child comes along and says, oh, I don't want to play. No, I don't like scales. I go, that's no problem. Let's do these ones. It's a little song. And so, they're keen to do that because it's a little piece. It's not scales. So you just sort of outsmart them and you can do it. With the option 2 as well, you don't have to play them by memory. Scales have to be presented by memory, but option 2 doesn't. And you've got that at preparatory, you've got it at preliminary, and you've got it at grade 1. So all of those are contained within the book, and so you don't have to go running off and buying other books or other support material. Okay, now with the prelim, then it comes into categories. You've got pop and rock, you've got blues, and you've got boogie for prelim, and that will reflect in the book, and that reflects in the list as well. So if you go to page... it starts at page 44 with the technical work and so forth, but on page 45, down it comes, it says list, and they're worth 18 marks each. 3 solos in all to be selected from at least 2 of the following categories. Candidates should be encouraged to embellish their pieces where appropriate. Up to 2 pieces may be accompanied by a backing track. And Kerry and I'll show you some of those this afternoon and actually demonstrate, because people look at that and go, oh, they've got to be embellished. Oh, horrors, right? But it's not a oh, horrors. It's easy, easy, easy. At this level, it's not compulsory to embellish. But do you know what? I get my introductories to embellish, because if they do it right back when they're little, by the time they hit grade 3, where it is compulsory to do it, it's not going to faze them. It's not going to faze them. And Kerry and I are going to give you some tools this afternoon to get your littlies started off on embellishment. They just love it. And sometimes it's us that's locked up in the box. I often give little ideas to my students and they go, oh, that's awesome. And I go, well, you can do that, or, come back with something else. If you come back with something else, you can have a pick out of my lolly jar, right? So a little incentive for them to do something during the week. And often they'll come back with stuff and I go, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. So just let your children have some freedom. They just need a springboard to know what to do, and then let them run, because they will be awesome. What else was I going to say? The same thing, sight reading, oral test, general knowledge, it's all the same. There are support books available if you want extra. There's an oral book available, there's sight reading books available, so you can buy them. You don't have to, but, they're there if you want them. Now, grade 1, I'm not going to go into grade 1 because it's the same old, same old. You've got the list there and so forth. What is important at the grade 1 level, and I need to read you this because I really like this option. Right. At grade 1 level, they bring in ragtime. So it also includes now a different category. They have got 4 categories to choose from, 3 pieces in all from 2 of the different categories. But one of those pieces, the third piece, can be a free choice piece. If you have a look on page 50 of your syllabus, where it's got ragtime and then it says free choice. This is what Kerry and I just absolutely love about ANZCA. They're so flexible. It says 1 classical or modern piece of at least grade 1 standard. Now, you can do 2 modern, and then you can jump over to the classical syllabus and choose from something from their grade 1 and bring it back, and that can be their third piece. You can have a modern piece if you want to, it doesn't matter. They can be coming along with a piece and go, oh, can I play this? Frozen 2 came out, and then of course all that sort of, or they've got a new video game, they like the sound of the theme or whatever. Kids bring along pieces, and I'm not locked into teaching just exam things. I like, especially term 4, when all the exams are over for us up in here in the north. I'm in the Whit Sundays in Queensland. We're all done and dusted by the end of September, and then you've got term 4. And so what do we do in term 4? It's the Christmas term. It's that you can bring a piece, whatever you like term, and that's where those own choices can come in. It doesn't have to be out of the syllabus. It can be from anywhere, as long as it's that standard. So if you're grade 1, if you're doing grade 1, your student's doing grade 1, it has to be the grade 1 standard. And as teachers, you know what the standard is. If you're really worried about it, if you're really worried about the standard, you can give the office a ring or ask one of your colleagues. Kerry and I are both reps. I'm state rep, Kerry's rep for the Greater Brisbane area. Look, we're only a phone call away. Even if you live in another state, we're happy to take phone calls and we can help you. So don't stress on that part. But it's so amazing that you can have that freedom. I know. Just digressing into the higher grades, I have a student, she's doing grade 7 level now. For the last 3 years, she's always come with that 4th piece, because they've got to do 4 pieces when they get up to that level. And one of the pieces, it was called the hanging tree. I don't know if anybody knows it, but the hanging tree. And it was the most eerie, awful piece, but she wanted to learn it. Like she'd watched the movie and, it's an awesome movie. Have you seen it, Mrs. D? I went, no. Anyway, so we taught it, and it was just like in my head after she'd left the lesson, and I'm going far out. And if you read the words, they were awful. And
I've taught it for singing. It's much worse when they're singing it.
Awful. And so in the end I kind of like steered her off because she'd learnt it, thank goodness. And I said, look, why don't we choose something else? You've got plenty of time and blah, 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 blah. So we actually chose something else, which was nicer. And that's what she did, thank goodness. This year she's come with 2 or 3 beautiful pieces. They're just lovely. And so we've chosen one for the exam. Yeah, so it can be from anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the syllabus as long as it's the same standard as the grade they're sitting. Right, so now back to grade 2. This is where I really like to explore. Grade 2, okay, they've got, I'll just grab that page number for you. Okay, grade 2 starts at page 50. Okay, now it's still only 3 pieces at this level. You've got 2 pieces that can be chosen from any 2 of the categories, and yep, they've still got, they haven't chosen it, they haven't got another category, they only go up to ragtime, but the free choice again can be classical or from anybody like. We had a question, didn't we, Kerry, with one of our meetings, and they one of the teachers said, look, you know, if a teacher has composed a song, or a student has composed a song, can they use that as their free choice? And the answer is yes, as long as it's at that level that they're sitting. As long as it's at that level that they're sitting, go for your life, right? Can be composed piece. But what I really like, what I really love about grade 2, if you come across to page 53, and it says, it's got Boogie on the top, ragtime, then it says free choice. One classical or modern piece, you know that it's the same drill. Okay, then it says sight reading or improvisation. Now this is amazing. This is an amazing book. Tony, are you able to get up the improvisation cover for us, please? Yeah, that's it. Now, do we have the PDF of the first page of the modern sight reading? Okay, if you have a look at that and you're sitting, thanks Tony, if you're sitting grade 2, your student's sitting grade 2, and this is the modern example, right, for sight reading, if they can do this, they're going to meet the same standard in the exam room. There's no surprises. It's not harder than that. It's exactly the same standard as that, right? So there's no surprises in that. The classical stream is different to that, of course. I don't know if we have got the classical stream sheets up, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's what they read. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of my students hate sight reading. They hate it, right? And our way around that is to do the 40-piece challenge, and we do a lot of, new pieces every week, and, students are now starting to like sight reading because it's done as pieces, but I digress. When we go back, can we go back to the improv, please, Tony? this is another alternative. Now, I don't know if any of you were at the Brisbane APPC. We had a display there, and this book, I couldn't keep it on the shelves. I kept ringing the office and saying, please send me another lot, please send me another lot, because it just flew off the shelves. It's a standalone book. You don't have to be doing an exam to do it. Now, could we go into the first page, please, Tony? Thank you. Yes. Now, see there. Okay, this is at grade 2 level. It starts at grade 2 level, right? And so with those chords, it actually says, I'm going to read it from my book here. So I'm looking at the same one as you. Right. The accompaniment. The first step is to learn the chord charts and practice the given progression. Now, that's what I do with my kids. I do exactly that with my kids. They learn the chords, and then we talk about the sight reading part of it. So for the first level, all you need is the block chords. Could we go to the first example of the first example, please, Tony, of the and I'm going to demonstrate it for everyone. Right,
Cynthia, we haven't got the page up yet.
Okay, what are we looking for here? This one?
Yes, that's the one. Thanks, Tony.
All right, so this is the very first example. Are we on page? You can see the example, Kerry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to do example 2. Now, I've taught my students the chords. And if you see the chord symbol, the lead sheet, it's like a lead sheet. They've already learnt. They've already learnt that ahead of time, because the progression is 1 4 5 7 1 or 1 2 5 7 1. So that I've already taught them that. So we teach them. I like to do that arrangement under my hand, so it's not, you know, not diving and ducking all over the keyboard, and that's what they learn ahead of time. And when they come back and they can play that progression in C, I just say shift your hands to G, and they do the G one, or they do the A minor one. And so they've already learned it ahead of time. And then you say, right, okay, let's have a look at the sight reading there, number 2. It's 4 bars. It says, up the top it tells you, it says what to do. Play the melody with an accompaniment according to the chord symbols. You don't need to add an introductional coda or embellish the melody. You can ghost but not play the notes in each hand before you start. Aim to keep the tempo steady right through the piece. So they've already learned the chords. They've only got to sight read the 4 bars. I mean, they're not these ones. Obviously, the examiner's got a different pattern, you know, a different set of tests, but they're similar. And so if I've taught my student the chords and I just have to play the top, this is all I have to do. A little thing over here, a little comment over here. Back on page, where are we? Okay. Where it says, this is the minimum required for grade 2, played evenly and fluently. This will earn you full marks from the examiner. Okay, Kerry, are you ready to examine me?
I'm ready, Mrs. D.
Here we go.
And Mrs. D just got 10 out of 10.
Awesome. Okay. So now, if you do grade 3, it's asking for a arpeggiated bass. And so I like to get value out of this book. And so when the students come along and we've done the grade 2 exam and they're heading up for the grade 3 exam, I say, oh, you know, the book we were using, just go to your grade 2 and we'll start there. And so they start off by just doing the chord. They start one. But what we do after that is do the arpeggiated bass or the chord bass. So you see, that's what we learn ahead of time. Or right, ahead of time, we learn that ahead of time. So it would be going something like this. get full marks for that, please, Mrs.
10 out of 10.
Okay. Now, sorry, I meant to just mention again, you can have the child ghost it. Ghost the little example. They can't play, but they can ghost. So if I was sitting and I'm grade 2 and I'm going to have a little go, I put my hands up and I just do this, right? I go, yep, I'm good with that, and I go, right? So you can ghost it, which is different to most times when you do sight reading. Okay, so when they get over to, and at the beginning of each grade, it says what to do and what is new at this level. Grade 3 says, play the melody with an accompaniment according to the chord symbols. And what's new at this level, the accompaniment must be rhythmic or arpeggiated, and additional keys are F major, E minor, D minor. And so now they've got a few more keys to their arsenal. Now, if you go up to grade 4, what to do? Play the melody with a rhythmic or arpeggiated accompaniment according to the chord symbols. The first line, bars 1 to 4, should be played as written, and the second line, bars 5 to 8, with some embellishment in the melody. What's new at this level? The length is 8 bars, melodic embellishment in the second half of the melody line, and chord 6 in major and minor keys. Options: introduction and or coda, and adding sevenths to chords where suitable. And so that's entirely up to you. And so I'm going to give you another little, what I do is, of course, I go back to grade 2 and then we work through the grade 3. I like getting value from the book. Now, I don't just come straight into grade 4. But at this level, I've taught my children how to do the stride bass, etc. Now, the right hand goes like this. Now, I've only played it through so you can get the sound of it, right? But this is what it would be, something like this. Also, okay, do you get the idea for that? Okay, so then we've got grade 5. It's basically the same, where you've just got added extras. It's grade 6 that sort of scares the socks off kids if they haven't done it right back at grade 2. And so I really urge you that if you're going to do this, make sure you start early. It says what to do with the 2-bar introduction, then play the first line, bars 1 to 4, as written in both hands. Continue the accompaniment style for the remaining 8 bars with embellishment in the melody line. Finish with a 2-bar coda. So what's new at this level? The length is 12 bars. Notated accompaniment is for 4 bars. There's chord 3. There's sevenths on the chords, 2, 3 and 5, 6 in major keys and 4 in minor keys. A coda is required. Options are adding other sevenths and extensions to the chords where suitable, adding chord and harmony notes to the right hand part. Now, can you imagine throwing them in at that level if they've never done it before? It's jolly hard at that level, unless you've done it before. And as I said, this has started off at grade 2 for ANZCA, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Pop School books with Daniel McFarlane, from Daniel McFarlane's Supersonics Piano. They are amazing. It's like, you know, he had it in mind with the ANZCA improvisation book. His first little book starts at about late prelim, grade 1 level. And if I've got all my littlies on that, and if you do that and then swim across to the ANZCA, it's kind of like, woohoo, they're already there when they start, and they have no problem in going through all the improvisation. So actually, I have to admit that my kids just don't do the sight reading. Unless they're doing the classical exam. If they're doing modern exam, they actually do the improvisation. Right.
Can I jump in there for a moment, Cynthia? I know we're mainly taking questions at the end, but there was one from Sharon Ellum, which I think could be good to talk to now. And she asked, is only the stride bass available at this level? When I'm teaching grade 4, and I've got 3 grade 4 modern students sitting this period, there are a couple of other options you can do. And I like teaching mine the Alberti bass. So they could go, or in 3/4, you could do the rock bass as well. So that is not the only option. I think the wording is something like, what is it, a rhythmic bass, does it say? It's gone off the screen and I don't have my improv book with me.
It says, continue the accompaniment.
Oh.
The grade 6, you've got to continue in the
No,
accompaniment.
this was when you were talking about grade 4.
Oh, grade
This
4.
question came in.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony. Let me see, with a rhythmic or arpeggiated accompaniment.
Yes.
So there's quite a bit of scope there. You don't have to do stride bass.
No.
And as Cynthia said, she teaches her stride bass. I teach mine Alberti bass.
So,
there are many. I teach them all the options, but we focus on the Alberti bass
yes.
for my student
And
exams.
another thing is there's a CD in the front of the book, and it gives you some options and ideas as well. In the front of the improvisation book, there's a CD. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, we need to do the demonstrations now of the embellishment, because that's the biggest thing that new teachers to the modern stream kind of go, oh, far out, what have they got to know? And look, it's easy as...
And Cynthia, can I interrupt you again? I'm sorry, darling, I keep cutting across you. I like to call this embellishment for the classically terrified, this section.
That's right. All right, so let's do the first one we're going to do is introductory. Now, I had a little girl, and she was only, when she came to me to learn, she was 4, right? And she was in kindy, and she's such a bright little button that she just, creamed through the tutor book and all the rest of it. And I said, well, she really needs to do a little introductory exam. So when she was in preparatory, and she's so mature and full on, I kept thinking she was in grade 1, but she was only in prep. Anyway, she's so tiny, she can't, I have a baby grand piano, she can't reach the pedals, right? So I had a pedal extender, and she did this little piece called Chimes. Now, I'll play it for you. Are you able to get up Chimes for us, please? Okay, this little piece. What? Okay, are we good? Can you see my piano there, guys?
Yes, that looks good, Cynthia.
Can you see that? Okay, this little piece goes like 3/4. It's one of the ones at the beginning of the book, and it goes. Hang on, where are we? That's just a little tiny...
Hang on a moment, Cynthia. I think Tony's still looking for the music.
Oh, okay. Right.
So, Tony, we're looking for the Chimes piece in introductory, please.
Sorry, while he's looking for that, can I just remind people, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, just that when you're very close to the microphone, if you cough, it goes really into our headphones, and it's very, very loud.
Yeah, I've been muting. Did I? Yes,
oh,
did
good.
I not mute once?
Yeah. And also in the page turning, Cynthia, when you're turning the pages right in front of the computer, it's really, really loud. If you could do it gently. Microphones don't distinguish noise, and so everything is amplified. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And sorry, I've been muting every time. I must have missed one. So sorry, mea culpa.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So will I keep going with that? Has Tony found that
Can
page?
you,
No, we don't have it yet.
Okay, well, I might just keep going because you can hear the original. You've heard the original, but what I got her to do was play it up an octave higher and put the pedal on. She thought it was so swish, right, with the pedal extender. So we were able to put it on and just leave it there, and it sounded more like chimes like. So I'll play it as the original, and then I'll give you the little embellishment that we did with it. And then she was so funny. I taught her to, like how you did the butterfly off, you finished it and you sort of lift your hands like that. I tell them to butterfly off. I don't want them sliding off like a snake. So they've got to lift their hands beautifully. Well, she was so funny because when she lifted her hands on the day of the exam, we lift the hands and she went like this. Right? She's such a drama queen, but she's so gorgeous. So that was a little piece. That's all you've got to do is just do something with the piece. You don't have to do anything really big. Now, the next one I want to show you is Hands Over Boogie. It's in the preparatory book, and I love this one. It's so easy for the kids to learn. Be careful if you do teach it that you make sure that the hands are over the top. It's Hands Over Boogie. As an examiner, I've seen quite a few children play this piece and they sort of like split their hands like that so they can see what they're doing. You're supposed to have your right hand right over the top. Which way am I going? Right hand right over the top so that you actually can't really see your left hand. Okay, so it's got to be right over the top. Now this little piece, I don't know if Tony's got it up there, but it's got no dynamics. None at all. It just, at the very beginning, it says mezzo forte, end of story. And if you played this thing mezzo forte, it's so boring, like as in no dynamics. It's a nice little piece, but no dynamics. And so what we do for the improvisation is we might start a little intro. Now the ending can either be soft or the ending can be. Right? And so when you put dynamics in there, that's improvisation because there's none there. It's something that you've added. Okay. Kerry, over to you, Belle.
Okay, I'm going to share with you one of my favourite pieces. This is on for preliminary and it's called Sneak. Now later on in the workshop I will be talking about how passionate I am about ANZCA and why, but I'll probably forget to tell you this then, so I'm going to just preempt this. ANZCA examiners are really encouraging for the kids because we all know you get more with sugar than you do with lemons. I had a boy play this in the exam the year before last, and he had many, many issues. This boy, he was about 14. He was the most nervous young man I've ever met. We had a lot of trouble getting him in the front door on the day of the exam. Then his father had to leave so that I could actually get him from the front veranda into the living room where we were all waiting. By the time we made it down to the exam studio, he was almost, if you can believe, he was standing, sobbing in a fetal position standing. He was so frightened. Now, he knew his work, but he suffered such extreme nerves. And I was so grateful. I will mention who the examiner was. It was Melissa Mitchell, who has my eternal respect and admiration for what she did next, because This child was terrified. And I'm going, darling, you know how to play. It's going to be okay. The examiner's on your side. Well, I was listening from upstairs, and it was hilarious to listen to and so heartwarming. The exam didn't go in order at all. His favourite piece was Sneak, that I'm about to play you. And I heard this awesome jam session, because I've got 3 pianos in my studio, 2 grands and an upright. I'm not in my studio at the moment. I'm at my beach house. I have another piano here too. And I heard this awesome jam session between my terrified student and the examiner, and they were having a ball jamming and improvising on Sneak. Then she did another piece, then she did a couple of scales, then you could hear she was ducking and weaving, and she eventually managed to get all the stuff out of this boy, just not in the traditional order. But this is such a great piece that this broke the ice for this poor young man in his exam. Now, what I'd like to do, I'll play it to you the way it's written, then I'm going to talk to you about what I did with it, and then I'll play it again. So I'll just adjust the angle so you can see the piano nicely. Oh, and I think I'll unplug because...
Yep.
Yes,
Cynthia,
Tony.
the PDF's not cooperating anymore. Can you get it up on your screen?
Okay, I'll give it a go.
I'm seeing it on my screen, but no one else is seeing it. I can't work it out.
Okay.
Okay.
You go
Well,
ahead.
shall I just play while you work on that? And I'll unplug because otherwise I'll tie myself in knots.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, can Cynthia, and thank you, Cynthia and Tony, can you wave if I'm perfectly audible without the headphones in?
Yep.
Yep, good. I can't hear you as well, but I'm glad you can hear me. So, what I'm done with this, when you have something like this, always try and do it at least once straight and then play with it. So the introduction goes like this. And then it repeats. So on the introduction, I just change it up a bit. Adding some double preemptive notes. Then I'm letting the tune go as it is the first time. Then the second time, I've already done. So the second time, I'm just going to add an extra note of the chord. Just to mix it up a bit. And then the third time, I do what? And then instead of, I've got... So I'm just adding extra notes of the chord to give it a bit more momentum and a bit more movement as it progresses. Then again, instead of crotchets, I'm going. And again up here, instead of, I'm going to put in. So all I'm doing is adding some, all I'm doing is adding some extra notes and some extra rhythm in the intro. Have a listen to it again, it really comes alive. So just those few little changes, I think, I mean, it's a masterpiece as it is, but that makes it an extra special masterpiece, I think. So it wasn't that hard. And at this low grade level, remember, it's not compulsory till grade 3, but as Cynthia said, get in on the ground level, and the kids love doing this. So all we've done is added some rhythm and a couple of auxiliary notes and a couple of chord notes, and hey presto, you've done your embellishment. Over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, thanks, Kerry. All right, what have we got? Scooby-Doo-Wop. Now, you're allowed to have a backing track with your pieces if you would like. You can do up to 2 with a backing track. So I'm going to do Scooby with a backing track today, and I'll show you how I can do that with a little bit of improv. Sorry, my hubby distracted me because he came in and put my computer down at a different angle. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Okay, but do you see how that can be done with the backing track, and you can still do a little bit of improv on it? And yeah, that's fun. All right, Kerry.
Okay, my next one is called Tin Pot Tango. Now, I'm also a drummer, and I have a bit of a thing for tangos. Whenever there's one in the drum exams, my students know I'm going to gently nudge them towards the tango, because I really love tangos. I also love to dance them. Now, this Tin Pot Tango is on for grade 2, and it's got some really neat tango rhythms, and I'm going to play it to you first of all as written. Pauline Chang is an awesome composer. We have a lot of her music in the syllabus, and all the children really love her pieces. At grade 3, one of the classical ones is a piece called Romance, and most of my students choose to play that one. I don't say a word, they just pick it. So I really love Pauline Chang's music. So this is as written, first of all, the Tin Pot Tango. Now, I'm sure you all agree that's a beautiful piece, but I like what I do better. So it's got a 2-bar intro that goes, and I thought, you know what? We can jazz that up and make it 4. So all I've done is put a diminished 7th chord in with 2 dominants. Now, the kids don't need to know what a diminished 7th is. We know what it is, and we can just suggest, what do you like for this as an idea if they haven't thought of something else. So between bars 3 and 4, I like to add this. Which I think leads really well into the melody. Now again, the first time round that you state a melody, you really shouldn't tamper with it, in my humble opinion. However, the second time is fair go. So the first when I get to bar 7, the music says, and I feel like a bit more movement, so I'm going to do. And then in bar 9, the music says, well, it's leading into for me, the climax of the piece. So instead of doing that, which we've done before, I'm going to change it to a unison. No, I'm not. What am I going to do that? I've got it. Now, when I played it the first time, did you notice that it's got a mezzo forte at the beginning and a forte at the end and then a fortissimo? Not a lot changes. To me, that's the climax of the piece. So you are allowed also to add extra dynamics. That can count as improvisation. And I feel for myself, that's the climax of the piece. And then doing an echo is really effective. Oh, and I'm going to add my extra notes in the echo as well. So here's the loudest part. Then the echo, and I'll probably go and then bring it up. In the bar 15, instead of, I'm going to do, and then the ending goes, well, I think that is worth hearing twice with some extra notes. Sorry. So now I would like to play you my souped up version of Tin Pot Tango. Just checking you can see the hands. Yes, good. So what did we do? We added a bit more to the introduction using chords that work, a diminished seventh and a dominant. We used a lot of repeated notes. I used unison instead of repeating the same old to bring up the climax. We added some dynamics and we put a coda on by repeating the last 2 bars and just adding a couple of notes. This is not hard. I came from a totally classical background and I started teaching at a local school many decades more than I would like to admit to, and I hadn't even got both feet in the staff room door on my first day, and one of the teachers looked up from morning tea and said, "Oh, you're the new lady, just letting you know, we only do ANZCA here." And I went, what's ANZCA? And that was my introduction to ANZCA. So I had nothing but classical training, and boy did I learn fast. And as Cynthia said, the children will come up with loads of ideas. I give them some of mine and then I say, go home and play with it yourself. They will surprise you. So remember, your best friends are repeats, auxiliary notes, passing notes, chord notes, dynamic changes. Over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, now Kerry, I've just looked at the time, and because we started late, I might have to cut a couple of things, right? Cut it short. So
We'll just talk faster. We can talk faster.
That's all right. Can you just jump to your boogie, your beach buggy boogie?
Oh, I'd love to hear your Fifth Avenue.
No, you jump to that one. I just have to duck and weave a couple of bits. Can you go?
Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through I'm doing Beach Buggy Boogie now by Martha Meir. I love Martha Meir's music. It's on for the modern. There's also some of her pieces are on for the classical. I think it's grade 6, Serenity of the Heart from her Romantic Impressions book 4 is a super favourite of all of my students. Now, Beach Buggy Boogie, by definition, is pretty fast. So you'd think, oh, gee, it's a fast piece. There's not a lot I can do. But I do a couple of things. Now, if I go to bar 8, it goes, and And in bar 10, I already have had held chords a few times. So instead of, sorry, I take that syncopation, which actually I got the idea from bar 26, which goes. So I've taken that syncopated rhythm, and a lot of the time on long chords, instead of, I've gone. And I do that a few times. I also do it on chords. And then I've put some doubles in, so it goes. But then it goes. Well, I see no reason you can't go. And then I perpetuate that with becomes. And then at the very end, I'm going to add a glissando. The end goes. When you hear it, see if you like mine better.
Kerry, can I just jump
Yes.
in a minute? I've just checked for the PDF, and we don't have that one, unfortunately. So
That's okay.
can you just still talk to it so that people, I think most people would be familiar with that one, but I'm just saying.
Yes, and I have just spoken to it because I'm not doing a lot to this one. I'm adding some repeated notes, some doubles, and a glissando.
Okay.
I think the glissando really brings that end alive.
Lovely.
Okay, over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, now I'm just going to just mix things up a little bit, Kerry. What I'll do now is talk. I'll give you a break so that you can jump into classical.
Okay.
Kerry will do classical in a minute. I want to talk just while she's having a drink of water and getting ready. I want to talk to you about the different streams. We have the digital piano, we have the modern stream, we have the classical stream, and we also have a performance exam and a jazz syllabus, besides all the other instruments. Like I said at the beginning of this meeting, I know that there are teachers that don't teach piano, they're teaching other instruments or singing or whatever, drums, and that's you know, everything what is relevant for the keyboard is relevant to the other instruments as well, and you will have that syllabus. If you've got any questions, please stay at the end and we can absolutely walk you through those if you've got any questions. So like I said, the majority of teachers on board are keyboard. That's why we're actually going through the keyboard fairly in detail today. So I just want to give Kerry a break just for a minute, and I want to pop over to page I think there might have been we still had people coming into the meeting, which is unfortunate. Maybe the timing in different areas and countries is a bit different. Anyway, so back to the syllabus. Now, on page 138, there's this little tiny page and it talks about the performance syllabus, and I think it's such a shame that it's not given more prominence because it's an amazing little exam. When I say a little exam, it's not a little exam, it's like it's still a mainstream kind of exam, but it only requires 4 pieces. That's it, 4 pieces, end of story. There's no general knowledge, there's no ear tests or sight reading or anything like that. There's nothing, only the 4 pieces. There's no theory prerequisite, there's only the 4 pieces. Now, when this first came out, I have to admit, I'm a bit of a stickler and a traditionalist. I'm thinking, well, that's a dumbed down exam. What about when all the kids, and they have to do all the scales and they've got to do all that sort of stuff, and then somebody can come along and just play 4 pieces, you know? But I have discovered and explored it in the last few years, and it is an amazing little exam, because you know what it's like, especially when kids get up in higher levels. They are swamped at school with homework and assignments and all this, and you're just about ready to lose them out the back door, and you can pull this little exam out. They can still do this exam. When I said little exam, it's not a little exam, because you know what? Each piece is weighted at 25 marks, and it has to be a performance exam. They have to pull something out of the bag. That's the trade-off for not doing all the other stuff. And so they can't come along, and they're going to lose more marks if they slip. You know, like Kerry will talk to you about, you know, how an examiner thinks, and, you know, what we actually have to do in an exam room, and, you know, if we have to take marks off and all that sort of stuff. You know what? A performance exam is a lot tougher in performance than a mainstream exam, because that's all they've got to go on. That's all they have. So don't think it's a dumbed down exam. Oh, only 4 pieces. Man, they've got to be good. And so what I love about it, a lot of my kids did performance exam last year, especially when we had COVID, and, you know, everybody, especially in Victoria, I know you guys were in lockdown for nearly 7 months, and like we were very fortunate up here in Queensland at that time. Can't say at the moment, but at that time we were very fortunate, and we were only in lockdown for a term, and then we had the choice of doing face-to-face or online after that. And so gradually my kids have crept back face-to-face, and out of my 40 students, I still have 10 who really enjoy staying online, so for distance learning or whatever. But majority of them did a performance exam. And about 2 hours south of me is a town called Mackay that has a most tremendous Eisteddfod. It is very high standard, and to win a prize on the stage of that Eisteddfod, you've got to pull something out of the bag, and it's got to be really good performing. Besides the piece, it has to be a good performance. And I say to the kids who want to do this performance exam, I go, you have to play 4 pieces as if you are out after the prize of first, second or third. If you don't want to do that kind of practice, don't do it. And they all step up to the plate and go, oh yay, yes, only 4 pieces, and so in they go. But it is only 4 pieces, and it's really helpful. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we're not going to teach other pieces. I know Kerry will talk about a teacher who swapped over from another board last year, and this was the reason, because of the 4 pieces. But I know Kerry's got a story with that, so I'll let her tell it. But let me just quickly talk you through this. It says program requirements. List pieces must be chosen as follows: grade 1 to 5. A program of 3 contrasting pieces chosen from the classical and or modern lists, and 1 free choice piece. Yay, there's that free choice piece again. 4 pieces in total must be presented. Now, this is how it goes. The first piece, forget it's called list A or piece 1 or whatever. That's just how they labelled it. They could have labelled it apples, bananas and carrots, right? It's not list ABC like you have in the classic stream. Let's just say the first piece has to be out of the list A classical piece. It does have to, you have to take it from there. You don't have a choice. That's one of your first pieces, right? So the list A in the classical stream is your number 1 piece for the performance, your choice for the grade. And then the second and third choice, which in the syllabus says B and C, well, forget it says B and C. You don't have to take them out of B and C classical, because what do you do if you want modern? They're not B and C, they're all categories. So what they're saying is the second and third piece, you can either have 2 modern pieces, you can jump back over into the modern syllabus and choose 2 from out of there, or you can have your B and C out of your classical if you want to, or you can have 1 out of the classical and 1 out of the modern. It's entirely up to you. It's got such lovely, it's so flexible. And then that...
And Cynthia, can I jump in? It doesn't have to be out of B and C. It can
No.
be any two pieces on the classical syllabus.
Yeah. So it's up to you. It's a bit sort of, it throws you off a little bit, doesn't it, when it says B and C, because it's not B and C. If you know
It's
what I mean.
bananas and carrots.
Bananas and carrots, that's right. And so then you've got your fourth piece, which is your own choice piece. So it's so flexible. Now, even with the grade 6 to performer, it says as above, but with the set classical stream D pieces may also be chosen for B's, C's or D's. And the performance diploma pieces must be chosen from the associate performer list. So the only thing you have to, there's nothing else except if you get to diploma, and then you do have to do program notes, and it's all there about what they want and how to set that out. And it's such a lovely little exam. When I say little exam, it's certainly weighted heavily. If you go through and do to the diploma, you get a set of letters after your name, which is a perf dip, a performance in diploma. Okay, so that it's another alternative there if you've got really busy kids and they just they can't get their head around the scales. It doesn't mean to say I don't teach scales. Kids who do these exams, I might not teach them, say they're doing a grade 6 performance, I won't go to the grade 6 scales and say, oh, well, let's learn all the grade 6 scales. What we do is go through the piece. I mean, of course they've got to know about the piece. Of course they've got to know their general knowledge. How can they play it if they don't know it? So they still have to know the general knowledge of the piece. But what we do is when we go through and we discover the keys, then they're the scales they have to play. And they have to play all of them, you know, like 2 or 3, 4 octaves, depending on what level they're up to, country, you know, chromatic, the whole thing, arpeggios. And if it modulates, guess what? They have to play those as well, you know, and the chords that go with them. So they still do all that. It just doesn't have to be for exam presentation. So, and only having the 4 pieces frees us up to choose heaps of other things for during the year. So, yeah, just to draw your attention to that little exam. Okay, Kerry, would you like to talk to us about the classical, please?
I would, and I've made some notes on my phone in case people watching have been wondering why I'm looking down. Cynthia loves having a paper syllabus. I love having mine on my phone. It's with me all the time. So while Cynthia was talking, I've been watching the syllabus on my phone. And I have also made some notes about the classical on my phone. Now, I know a lot of people change to ANZCA because they're really interested in the modern syllabus. But if you want to teach mainly classical, which is me, we have you covered as well. As I teach, it's really interesting reading the pieces out of the classical syllabus because many of them I played as a little girl for my exams. So what I've done, rather than, it starts on page 92 if you're following in the syllabus, and I haven't put page numbers for all the grades, but I've just put some concordances from other syllabi that we have here too. So, for instance, Alyssa Milne has written the Getting To grade preliminary 1, 2, 3, 4 books. We have all of those pieces on our syllabus. So my goal today is to show you that we are not any different from other boards in our choice of pieces. In fact, I think we have more. We have a lot more Australian composers. We use Karen Bailey. As I said, we use Martha Mear, not that she's Australian, and nor is Dennis Alexander, but we have Pauline Chang, we have Ian Ladd. All my kids love Andrew Cragg's pieces. I've told his lovely lady wife, Kirsten, how much one of my student fathers is just in love with all his pieces. They've now, looked up his YouTube channel. So we really support Australian composers. But I digress. We still have, for all our studies, you've grown up with your Czerny studies, your Bertini studies. They're on for all the exams. We have the Bach inventions, the sinfonias, the preludes and fugues, and the French suites. They all make their appearance from about grade 4. We have the Kuhlau sonatinas, the Clementi sonatinas, always popular favourites. I'm a bit of a Chopin freak. I have a lot of students who are also great Chopin lovers, and we have the polonaises, the mazurkas, the waltzes. Grieg's lyric pieces feature at grade 4 and grade 6. We have Bartok. Mendelssohn's Songs Without Words is also represented, and the Scarlatti sonatas in the higher grades. And I've put in just a couple from each grade to show you what I'm talking about. At grade 1, you can do from the Children's Bach, the Song of Contentment. Lovely little piece. Also, Bergmüller's Arabesque. How many kids love the Arabesque? At grade 2, Innocence by Bergmüller. Lovely, lovely study. Probably the prettiest study I've ever met. And Kabalevsky's The Clown, with that lovely dichotomy between A major and A minor. At grade 3, back at the Children's Bach, that super popular Polonaise in G minor, and the Bertini study in C minor. I had a boy who is now in his 40s, dating myself, and when I taught him, years after he stopped learning, he would just sit at the piano and go and run down playing that Bertini study in C, because it is such a popular piece with the students. Mozart, Beethoven and Haydn also get a look in on a regular basis. At grade 4, they can do the Mozart K545 in C major. They can do the second movement. And what's super cool, I think, is at grade 5 they can do the first movement. So then you say to them, hey, the third movement's a walk in the park. That's about grade 4 level. Let's play it. And we've completed an entire sonata, your first full grown-up sonata. At grade 5, the classic favourite for Elisa, I actually have someone doing that at the moment, preparing their grade 5. At grade 6, I didn't write anything down, but I've got one, the Mozart Fantasia in D minor, one of my all-time favourites. That's on for grade 6. And as I'm saying these pieces, I'm sure you're thinking, yeah, I've seen that on that syllabus, I've seen that on that syllabus. So they are all the same grades, just we have a bit more. Grade 7, the Beethoven Opus 13, second movement is on. Also the Schubert F minor from the Moments Musicaux. And grade 8, the J.S. Bach Italian Concerto is on, the Haydn Sonata in E minor, first movement, and that gorgeous Liszt Consolation number 3 in D flat. So you can just see from noting some of those pieces, they're totally on a par with other syllabi, so that for the first year, if you say, oh, look, I'm really loving the sound of this ANZCA, but wow, my kids have already bought their books and they've started learning their programs. For your first year only, when you swap over to ANZCA, you can obtain permission. All you got to do is write a letter and obtain permission to pick up the whole program and move it across to ANZCA. And the examiner will receive a letter with their examining material saying, these students have approval to play these programs. And we did the workshop not this January, but last January in Toowoomba. And it was a really interesting experience because we'd had really warm receptions everywhere we went. And we went to Toowoomba and it was like a wall of ice. And you could just feel the icicles coming off these teachers like, we're here, but we're not really sure about this. And by the end, so many of them bought books, and we were so happy that the president of the Toowoomba MTAQ, or QMTA now, was so blown away by what we had to say that she bought all of the books for every grade level. And last year I had the honour and privilege and great joy of going up to Toowoomba to examine these students from the new teachers, because 2 of them came across straight away. And the one who was the president, she put every student she put in played AMEB programs, and they just all got approved. And then the deal is that next year, when you've already got around to our system, then you cross over and use our syllabus. So we are so keen to have people come across. You can do that. And that's why I like to point out where the similarities are, because chances are you might have a student preparing a program and they might not have all of their pieces on our syllabus, but I'm guessing they might have a couple. So I just needed to throw that in now. So our classical syllabus is not, oh, And I get really offended. One teacher who's come across, and she's got about 100 students in her studio, and she is such a strong advocate for ANZCA. At her school, the head of music goes, "Oh, you're doing those easy exams." We are not an easy exam board. We're not a tough exam board. We are totally comparable with everyone else. Okay, over to you, Cynthia.
Okay. Kerry, we might jump in now at the moment because I know you're going to do the jazz syllabus in a minute, but let's talk about, why ANZCA is the best, I think. Do you want to continue on that now?
You want to do that? Don't forget to come back to theory.
No, I
You got
won't.
to remember to come back to theory.
Okay. All right, well,
Okay.
how about if I do the
Uh,
theory? I'll do the theory and we'll come back. Yeah? I'll quickly...
okay, do you want to do that?
Yeah, because...
I need to fill my water bottle again. I'll be right back.
Yeah, everybody needs to go and have a drink, I think. Because I'm very passionate about the theory for a very special reason. First of all, ANZCA starts their formal theory, off with a preliminary exam, which I think is marvellous. And what I do for my students, I wait until they're in grade 6 at school. Now, you don't have to do that. I have colleagues who start them off as soon as they're ready. But I like to do them in grade 6 when they're at school to do the prelim, and then 7 they do, grade 1, and 8 they do grade 2, and so forth and so on. And then once they go through and get up to grade 4, this is where I absolutely love the options with ANZCA, because they can go through Tony, are you able to get up the theory for prelim and then the theory for grade 4 for me?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work, Cynthia. I'll give it another go, but I think you're seeing something, but you're not seeing what you should be seeing.
Okay. Oh, well, look, let me see if I can get it up.
Okay.
I'll just see if I can get it up. Hang on. It's just a bit tricky when I'm talking. Hang on, let's see if I can do it.
Hey, Cynthia, when you get a second, can you make Peggy co-host? And she might be able to get it up on her screen.
Oh, right. Okay, I thought I did, but I will. Yes?
Her name's changed to Peggy now.
Oh, maybe I've... Okay, all right, hang on. No. Where is that mouse? Sorry, guys. This is my first time sharing screens, so it's a little bit like, whoa. Oh, there it is. Okay, all right. Let me go back to prelim. Oops.
So maybe try your plus button up the top there.
Hang on, I'm going to do that, and then let's see if that can do that for us. Okay. Everybody see that? Okay, so that's the prelim paper. Now, if you have a look, oh no, wrong way. Okay. This is the first part of a prelim paper. Write these notes as minims, name these notes, write these notes as semi-reeves, add the correct accidental to each note, add the stems, and then there's some little timing questions down there. You've got time signature, writing scales, and then general knowledge. This is a copy this melody as neatly as you can with the questions, and then there's signs and terminology, and that terminology is in the front of your syllabus where it says theory. The terminology is all there, so they know exactly what they have to use and what they have to learn. Now, I like doing paper copies. We've been asked numerous times as we go around to do these workshops. I think we've done about 12 face-to-face workshops, haven't we, Kerry, in the last 12 months, really, a little bit above 12 months. And the question keeps coming up, will we go to online exams? And the answer is an emphatic no, we will not. Okay, when it was COVID, it was a different kettle of fish. People were able to, or students were able to sit in their own home under supervision. But as a rule, they go to a centre and it's with an approved supervisor. I've got where we are. There's two sittings a year. There's May and October, and they're sitting at a centre near you. It's like there's so many all over the countryside. There is a centre near you, If there's only one person, I'm talking about regional areas, if there was only one person in a regional area, they don't have to drive 2 or 3 hours to go to a main city to sit an exam. No, ANZCA will send you the paper as long as you've got an approved supervisor to, supervise that student while they're doing their exam. So everything's all organised. Now, they do this for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons is when I'm starting my little prelims off to do this exam, how difficult it is to draw those treble clef. How hard is it to try and get that sharp or flat or natural smack on the line or space that they're supposed to be on. And that's a skill. That is a learning skill. It's like us learning how to write. And I strongly believe that children should be able to write their own music and not just rely on a electronic version of, click and drag. And the other thing is, they're under a supervisor. There's no even thought about how can they cheat when they're under a supervisor. No, I'm not saying other boards cheat, but the opportunity is there that if you can sit whenever you like and you can do it as an open book exam. My kids get 100% if they normally do get 100%, I have to say. But, if they were looking at the book. I digress too. When I'm a bit of a stickler, and so is Kerry, I know, when we're teaching theory. And I say to my students, do you know what? From prelim up to grade 2, you should be able to get 100%. It's easy to get 100%. If you know your stuff, you can get 100%. But I say it's hard to get 100% because once they start into the papers, there's all past papers available. You can apply to ANZCA for past papers. They're on the book list, so you can just say I want a copy of this, that, and the other. And Tony was telling me today there's no copyright on the theory, so you only need to buy one paper, and you can copy it as many times as you like for your students. So you can just go ahead and do that. And I have a whole set every year of whatever's been sat that year, which is normally grades prelim to 6, and then they have 7s and the teaching diplomas and all that. They're not there every time. But I get a copy of those when they are. So I've got past papers right back to 2000. And my students do that. I ask them to do about 16 papers to prepare them. Some of them do book. ANZCA's got the most lovely books out, theory books out, right from prelim through to grade 5. And some students do those. Some students just go off the papers. It depends on the student and what time we have to do them. What was I going to say? Now, what I want to do is show you. And so, yes, so that's the reason I like to be able to teach my students how to write music. And you can get 100% up to and including grade 2 you should be able to. From grade 3 they've got a little bit of creative area in it, writing a melody and a rhythm and all that sort of stuff. So that's a little place where they could lose a mark or two. And then grade 4 and 5, this is what I love about grade 4, 5 and 6. If you have a look at it, see how it's all just normal, general run-of-the-mill theory. It's general run-of-the-mill theory, and it goes through, and we do all that sort of stuff. And you come over to here, and you've got chords you've got to identify. You've got the dominant 7th. This is grade 4. Dominant 7th, what happens with the dominant 7th, and it's leading note. And your plagal cadence and your interrupted cadence at this point, you've already learnt the perfect one. And the imperfect at this point. And then you've got harmony, which has got a figured bass. And then you've got melody writing up the top. And then see where it says note. Questions 8 and 10 include classical and modern streams. Candidates must answer all questions from one stream only. Do not answer a mixture of classical and modern questions. Now what that means, if my students are doing modern, they do the modern exam. If my students are doing classical, they do the classical exam. Now, I have to say that 95% of my students do modern. Their exam is predominantly a modern stream because we enjoy it so much. But their free choice is often a classical stream because, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a Stedford down in Mackay, and they've got a lot of classical sections. They've got a Bach section and a sonata section and all that sort of stuff, Australian composer and all that. So, my kids do classical. It's like Kerry is the complete opposite of me. she does classical and her kids dabble in the modern, don't they, Kerry?
Absolutely.
So, you know, we're sort of, you know, yin and yang, I guess. But this is amazing because if you have a look down at the classical stream, you've got the two-part writing. This is at grade 4 level. And then the modern stream. Now, that modern stream is like a lead sheet. And if you have a look at it, see how the very first bar is kind of given as a suggestion? Well, really, it's more than a suggestion. They're saying, you know, like try and do it in the style that you've been given, but they're pretty flexible about what you can do. And what you've got to do is sort of like Kerry's done in the improvisation and I've done in the embellishment today, beg your pardon, and like Kerry will show you in the jazz syllabus. So with the jazz syllabus, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing little syllabus. Again, I'm using the word little, but it's not really. It's just an amazing syllabus, and she's going to take you through that. And even if you're classical trained and you go, oh, I don't know if it's for me, I tell you what, she is so good at it. Because she's coming from a very classical background, she has made the steps to do this improvisation, and it is embellishment and it is improvisation in the jazz syllabus, as easy as easy as easy. You'll go away going, oh, I can do that, I can teach that. That's easy, right? So that's all that is. The modern stream is actually embellishment written down. Really, that's what it is. Now, the last couple of pages, you've got normal terms and what have you. Study this melody carefully and, you know, questions. But very much on the last page, if you're classical stream, you do. Name an English-born Baroque composer and one of his works. But if you're modern stream, you come down and answer the question, was ragtime mainly a compound or, a composed or improvised style? So you see, it matches what you're doing at the piano, and this is why I absolutely love ANZCA.
Cynthia, can I jump in for a moment? For those classical teachers who might be going, me, pick me for the classical question, and then they're looking at the ragtime question going, yikes, I haven't got a clue. Would you like to talk about blues, bop and beyond?
Yes. Well, now, like I said about the with the books, now there's all the theory books. That's all the covers of them. If you notice the last two with the pencils on the cover, they are the grade 4 and 5, and they've got all like a whole section on just dealing with the modern stream or just dealing with the classic stream. If you've got a grade 4 or 5 student and you get one of these books plus this book here, From Blues to Bop and Beyond, they are your textbook. They are your Bible. ANZCA will only take the questions out of this book and their own theory books. Hang on, have I gone? Oh, hang on. No, I'm lost. Where is it? Oh, there it is. They'll only take them out of those two books because it's not fair if this is such a broad area. It's such a broad area, right? Kids have got too much on their plate. So if they're narrowed down to 2 books only that they have to know from, they have a fighting chance. Now,
and 1 book if it's classical.
And yep, see, actually, yeah, 1 book if it's classical out of the theory book itself. I have to do. Can I do a little bragging now?
Of course, darling.
My grade 4 student, he's in grade 11 at school this year in Queensland. I was just notified about a month ago that he had won the Queensland top state for Queensland for grade 4, the scholarship award for that. Thank you, Kerry. Yeah, and he was absolutely stoked, and he's in the middle now preparing for his grade 5. And ANZCA have scholarships for kids at grade 4 and 5. They have to fulfil certain criteria. They have to have done 2 previous theory exams. They've got to be under 19 or 18, I think it is. But the other thing in there, you can all jump on the website and go in and have a look at this information. There's also a $1,000 bursary up for grabs in the grade 5 area. So my student, Jim Smith, is out after that $1,000. You better get your checkbook out, Tony, because he's really, really, really on fire. So this is what I love about the theory. It's just so flexible. And the reason I start them in grade 6, and I'll talk to you a bit more about that after, is so that it fits in with the QCE. Now, The QCE is sort of points that you can get on your senior certificate. I know in Australia that's only there for Queensland, Western Australia and South Australia. So if we have people from those areas, ANZCA is accepted onto those boards for senior. So they get points for doing it. They get points for doing grade 4 and 5 theory if they're in grade 10, 11 or 12. And you see that's where I'm aiming for, that when they start in grade 6, they will be, by the time they're doing grade 10 and 11, they're doing their grade 4 and 5 theory, and the prac is also included on that. I'll just say to what Kerry said, you know, some parents and teachers are under the impression that ANZCA is not weighted equally to, say, AMB or Trinity College or ABRSM, any of those. And if you go on and have a look at the website for the QCE, they get the points just the same. As a matter of fact, I think we've got a couple that have got more points, but yeah, it's there. It's weighted exactly the same. There's no difference to whether you sit an AMB exam, Trinity College ABRSM or ANZCA exam. The advantage is you've got that lovely modern syllabus and the jazz syllabus that Kerry's got, and she'll talk to you more about the examining and the transparency and the marks you get, because ANZCA actually give marks. Okay, Kerry, do you want to jump over now to your jazz?
I would love to. I would like to say too, one thing, about just finishing on what you just said, Cynthia usually with her modern students, she puts their free choice as a classical. And with my classical students, I usually put their free choice as a modern, so that they do get the experience of both, which is flexibility you don't get anywhere else. Now, I just need to change my chairs because I have 3 broken bones in my back, which is why I'm sitting with a chair with a back, but it's a bit inhibiting to play the piano, so sorry, I should have changed that before. And there we are. And I'm caught on a lead, as you do. Okay. Now, just like I called our embellishment section embellishment for the classically terrified, I call this section Jazz 101 for the classically petrified, because a lot of people have had no experience of jazz and go, what on earth am I supposed to do with that? I couldn't possibly do that. But guess what? I've come from that background and I'm here to tell you can. Now, in the jazz syllabus, you play your pieces from the jazz syllabus books, and they're written by Christopher Norton. If you know Christopher Norton's work, you will love these books because they're such awesome pieces. They're very melodic, very tuneful. The book has, each piece has 3 sections. The first part is called the head, and the head of the piece you must play exactly as written, just like a modern piece. Then you get the solo section, and if I open up, I don't know if we've got a PDF of this, but I'll just open up.
Received one, but I'll go have a look for you.
Okay, no, that's okay. I'll just hold one up to the screen so people can see. This is what you get in the solo. You get some note heads to tell you this is the notes that you should use, and you get a bass line. And if you use these notes and only these notes, you cannot fall over and go wrong. I tend myself to use those and a combination of the chords above. So the solo section, the head's fine, you play that, then you get to the solo section, and if you don't know it's coming, you freak out and go, oh, I can't do that. I can't make up the music myself. But you use those notes, and I strongly suggest using rhythmic patterns from the head of the piece, because then you're more than halfway there. Then, after that, there's always a DC, and when you go back and repeat the head, the expectation is that you will embellish the head. You don't have to go overboard, you don't have to totally make it up like you do with the solo section, but you must do some embellishment to the head, just like you would in your modern piece, because if you don't, marks will be deducted accordingly. And then some of the pieces have a coda. The first one I'm playing, the Calypso Carnival, I keep saying that, the Canadian Calypso, oh, very good. I'm not doing Give It Up, but we're nearly there. you've all got this in your, thank you, Tony. You should all have this in your PDF that came to you anyway. So we're going to look at the Canadian Calypso. And what I'd like to do is talk to it first. You can see that Calypso often uses syncopation, and the very opening of this is, so the right hand is syncopated to start with. When I did my solo, the notes they give you are, and then of course that's 1, 2, 3, 5 in F. So in G minor 7 it would be 1, 2, 3, 5, but I'd try and put a 7th in as well somewhere. And then your C7 would be 1, 2, 3, 5 with a 7th as well. So what I did for my solo, I took my improvisation from the opening. The opening goes. So for the beginning of my solo, I've taken the notes that are written and I've gone, which is almost the same, I just had a different starting note, and I went up. Now don't feel you've got to fill every bar as well, because if you look at the head, it's a busy bar, a less busy bar, a busy bar, a less busy bar. So I did that for my first bit. My ear, and I'm sure when we write melodies for our students to show them how to do it, we all hear it in our head. I know I do. And my ear just really wanted an E after that. So I took my C chord, my notes I can use are, so I did note of the chord, passing note, note of the chord, note of C7, not of the given notes, accented passing note, note of the chord, and 2 notes of the chord. Then, I was on such a good thing, let's just repeat it an octave higher. That was an easy bar to do. And you know what, I'll repeat this higher as well, with a different tag, to get me back to the tonic. Then, when I went to embellish the head, I thought, you know what, it's only level 2. This is not too scary at this rate. So, where it goes down in bar 2, you know what, I'm just going to invert it and go up. And that's a bit boring. I'm going to put in a passing note. So, every second bar where there's the interval of a third, whatever was in the head, I've flipped it over and I've inverted it and added a passing note. Now, these all come with backing tracks, and the backing tracks are free, just like you can download all syllabi from ANZCA, free from the internet. The backing tracks are also on the internet and they are free. When you go in, you'll have a look and it'll say E and it'll say P. P is the practice track, and the reason we've got this one on is it gives you the solo several times, not just once. So you get to practice lots of different solos. Oh, and I should say the first time I did this, I sat down and I played it and I had fun with it. And before I went to bed, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to record what I did today. Then I came back and I played it again the next day. And then I played my recording from the day before. I'm sure you can all guess what I'm going to say. It was totally different. And anyone who knows me knows that I get bored very easily. So I like lots of variety in my life. And so every time I've been doing these, I tend to do it a different way. I have tried to make sure that I've kept it the same for the workshop, because that way I can explain what I've done. But after our first series of workshops the year before last, I lost my book, and so I made it all up again, and I'm quite sure it's different. This year's version is different from last year's version. And I also have a story to tell about Cynthia, who you might have realised is my best friend, and we come and visit each other frequently because we live at other ends of the state. And so I was preparing for our workshops last year, and I had this up on the piano, and I was making dinner. And she'd just flown in and I said, come on, dinner's ready. Oh, just let me play this one some more. oh, this is fun. Just let me try the next one. I'm going, sweetie, your dinner's getting cold. Will you leave the piano and come and have your dinner? It was like trying to get a child off the piano to come to dinner. So if you have a go at these booklets that you've got in your PDFs you've been sent, I think you will find them a lot of fun and potentially addictive. Obviously, I finally did get her to sit down to dinner, but they are a lot of fun to do. So I'm going to put on the backing track. Oh, so the P is the practice track, and the E stands for examination. So I've got this. I'm just going to make the iPad talk to me, and I've gone into level 2. I'm scrolling down to Latin, and I better get set because it comes on straight away. And I'm pressing the E for exam. Hang on, I'm going to check that my volume's all the way up because we had that problem.
Kerry, can I just interrupt for a sec?
Sure.
You know it says level 2, and that's where the jazz.
Yes.
Oh well, it actually starts at level 1. It goes 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 are coming, right? But it's got 1, 2, 3. The level 2 is not grade 2. Level 1 is around about grade 2. So,
because the levels 1 to 5 cover the levels 1 to 8 in our regular syllabus.
yeah. Okay, just so people don't get confused thinking it's a grade 2 piece. Yeah.
No, very good thing to pop in. Thank you. Okay, here comes Canadian Calypso. Where is the backing track? Got it. And that was totally free track probably. But I think it worked out okay. Now I'm just going to play the beginning of the backing track because I saw in the chat that somebody said with Cynthia's backing track, was it just a metronome? No. So I'm sad that you couldn't hear how cool that backing track was for the one that went with Scooby-Doo-Wop. I'm just going to play a little bit so people can hear it. So it is very melodic and very rhythmic. Okay, now let's go over. I'm going to have a look at Ambling Man. Hang on, what do I have to do? I've got to press that button to get into level 3. And Ambling Man, I've chosen from the swing set. Now, again, your head is as writ the first time. With the solo, they've given you those 4 notes. So notice the beginning of the piece goes. So I've taken that, I've put a rest in at the beginning, and I've gone 1, 2, 3, up. So all I've done is put those 4 notes that are suggested in a swing rhythm, ascending and descending. I did it the second time as well. Oh. 2 times was good. Here's 3. Now I was on the E, and if you listen to the bass, it's got this really neat bass, so I thought, we need something different. So actually I should get it so you can see the keyboard, you don't need to see me. And so I went, because that worked really nicely with the chromatic bass, and then I just did a little tag. My notes currently are, so I went, now there's a repeat. So, wow, we got to think of something different. Now, I've just been going up and down at this point, so I got bored. So I thought, you know what, we need some triplet movement. That worked, and then I'm still using the notes, but instead of just coming down, I went from the top to the bottom to the middle. Then I did some more triplets. Notice my first ones went down. My second ones I've put going up. And I went up. So just to contrast, I put that down. Now, at this point, I've gone, you know what, I've had a lot of single notes. I want to use more of that chord. So now I'm going to have, and then, so I did some chordal work because you can have too much of a good thing. So just slow it down with that. And then I liked this so much, I put it down the octave in a more mellow colour and added some thirds. And then my first tag went down, so my second tag, I went, you know what, variety, let's go up. Now, if you look at the head of this one, that was a gift. All I've got to do to embellish that is put some doubles. And in the left hand. So I put a lot of doubles. Now, playing it the first time, if you look at bar 8, that bar was so hard for me to play because I really wanted it to go. My inner soul wanted a syncopation there, so on the repeat of the head, I was able to embellish it by doing that. Now, to keep doing that doubles would be too boring, so you know what? Instead of going, I'm going, but with doubles, I'm inverting it in the second part of the head. And then, so I did that each time. Now, have a look at the very last bar. It says A flat 6. The backing track has the 6th. But the poor old piano player doesn't get the fun of playing the 6th, and I'm going, well, we've got to remedy that. So I finished with this really cool 6th chord. Okay, let's have a listen to how that all turned out. And yes, the iPad has turned off again. So I'll just call it back up. And where am I looking? I'm going to Ambling Man. Oh, by the way, it's got the keys on there. It says A flat and in brackets alto, sax and piano, because this syllabus is not just for piano. It's for alto sax, tenor sax, clarinet, flute and trumpet. And I will come back and talk about that after I've played it. But it gives you the 2 different keys for whichever instrument you're playing. And as I'm playing the piano, I'll play it in the A flat one. Isn't that such a cool song? I love playing that song. Now, we have this for all different instruments. So there are so many options to use with this syllabus, which I think is really exciting. And I was fortunate enough to be examining in a studio in Sydney year before last. It wouldn't have been a COVID year, so the year before last, and this syllabus was really new, and pretty much every student in this studio was doing the jazz syllabus, and I was blown away by what some of these young people came up with. So I really strongly suggest you investigate it. You've got the booklet. My top tip would be, after the workshop, get in and have some fun with it, because it is fun. Okay, over to you, Cynthia.
Okay, thanks, Kerry. Just to say about the jazz syllabus book, that it's not in a syllabus anywhere. You buy the book and all the instructions are in the front. There's about 16 pieces in the book. It's a really, really good value book. All the backing tracks are available for free on the ANZCA website. And so the whole book is there. You've got all the different categories in there. It's just wonderful. There's about 16 pieces in each book. It's been written by Christopher Norton and Doug McGregor, I think his name is. I always remember Christopher, of course, because I've had him for workshops. So it's an amazing book. They're just fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. And they're new. So at the moment, there's only the 3 levels out, but they're going to bring out the 4 and 5 as we go up. So jump in.
They're exclusively written for ANZCA, those pieces. You can't get them anywhere else.
Sorry, Tony?
They've been written exclusively for ANZCA, those pieces. You can't get them anywhere else.
Right, okay, thank you very much. Did everyone hear, Tony, that they've been written exclusively for ANZCA and you can't get them anywhere else? Yeah, awesome. All right, well, I think we've just about covered all of the demonstrating and stuff like that we wanted to do today, and you went through the syllabus, and I'm really congratulating everybody for staying put, because it's a long time for a webinar.
No, I've got to do my why ANZCA is the best, and the reason I turned around, my tortoiseshell just tried to destroy half of the household, and she got her claw caught in a string of lights, but she's okay and the house hasn't burned down, so it's all good.
All good.
Now, Cynthia, I missed what you just said.
I get muted. Okay.
Cynthia?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, Kerry, if you want to talk about why you and I feel that ANZCA is the best, and then we'll talk about the examining system and how that works.
Yep. Okay. So, as I said, I walked into this staff room never knowing about ANZCA. And while I was teaching at this school, which I did for 13 years, I only taught modern piano. Should tell my sister that. So yes, I only taught modern. And I love ANZCA for so many reasons. And especially when I have transfer students, because I refuse to teach any other boards now. My life is too short and I value my time too highly to waste my time on something I don't want to do. So I tell people straight up, if you're not willing to transfer to ANZCA, go and find a teacher who will teach you another board, because I'm not the teacher for you. I think the main reason I love ANZCA is because of the variety of choice. We have so many different syllabi within each instrument. As you've heard, we've got modern, we've got classical, we've got performance, we've now got jazz. For piano, we also have digital piano. That is 5 different syllabi. And examiners are handpicked for their friendliness and their kindness. I hope that we come across as nice, because I kind of think we're friendly people. And how many times as a child yourself, or entering other students to the exams, have you sat in that waiting room in a cold building, shivering, being so terrified, and the examiner is 1,000 years old and mean and grumpy? And prior to moving my whole studio over, when I was a young teacher, I would have students come back and say, oh, the examiner yawned right through my exam. They didn't seem to want to be there. They didn't even get up and hand me the sight reading. I had to get up and go to their desk and get it. And I don't like this at all. Now, we will always, we're like a good review. In a review, you always say the positive things first, and then you say where things could have been better. And that's what we will do. We will always finish in our comments with a word of encouragement as well, because we want to breed a whole generation of children who love music and want to play their music and want to keep improving their standard by doing more exams. It's that simple. And we are also very, very transparent. As you can see on the report that you've got on your screen, we get marks. If we make a mistake, Tony is there watching us like a hawk, and you will get a phone call to say, hey, I saw this on the report. What's the background story? This doesn't match up. For instance, with our new digital reports, we have ticks and crosses. We've gone to digital reports, and that's been a big learning curve. And with the old reports, I was able to write, for instance, if you got something part of the time signature right, say it was 4/4, and I would have expected to hear 4 crotchet beats and bar compound, not compound, simple quadruple, I would have said, oh, they got the 4-bit right, but they couldn't answer the rest of the question. So, and Cynthia didn't mention when she talked about the general knowledge, we are only allowed to ask 4 questions. We're not going to go overboard. It won't take half the exam. You know that there will be 4 questions. And as examiners, if something new comes on, for instance, at grade 2, you have to know the country of birth for the composer. At grade 2 level, you can pretty much guarantee that's going to be one of the questions asked by the examiner, and we use all the newer questions and work back to the old ones. So I was actually in the middle of examining, and Tony rang me, and I saw the call come through, and I had it on silent, but I was between students, and he said, look, you did some examining last week. Are you asking more than 4 general knowledge questions? I said, well, it was 2/3 right and 1/3 wrong, so I put 2 ticks and crosses. And so I was told the way that it would be preferred that I did that. So my point being is that it's really, really good, because all the examiners want to be the best that they can be, and the office is monitoring our work closely. No matter who you get as an examiner, the marks are going to be the same. We don't have easy examiners and hard examiners. It's right across the board, and each year we do training, practice training, and we'll periodically have students come into the examiners meeting, and we all have to grade them and compare the marks just to check everyone is on the same page. So I love that it is so fair. But what I find fair, I teach several dyslexic children, and they're great kids. But are they ever going to be awesome sight readers? Never in 1,000 years. They just can't. They see the notes and it's just like reading hieroglyphics. It's dyslexia. Now you'll see our sight reading is worth 10 marks. You will also see that our first class honours is 95, honours is 85, 75 is a credit, and 60, not 65, is a pass. So say you were brilliant at everything and got 0 out of 10 for sight reading, I can tell you that's never going to happen. If you even try, we're going to give you some marks. But say, academically, you got 0 out of 10 for sight reading, you would still have 90 marks. That means you could get honours, an A, and I think that is fairness. Plus, you can see we've got the marks on the side. The comments must match the marks. If you get 16 out of 18 for a piece, we will definitely tell you where you lost those 2 marks. It won't be, oh, that was lovely playing, thank you for sharing the music, beautiful, wonderful, marvellous. So why did you lose the 2 marks? We are always going to say this, what I just said, beautiful, wonderful, marvellous, but in bar 12 you kind of missed that syncopation, and the dynamics really weren't used that were written on the music, so maybe look at that for next time and you can see where you got your 16 out of 18. So for technical work in the lower grades, by the way, for introductory we don't have marks, it's an honours, a pass or a credit. It's very hard to get less than an honours for introductory. So for the lower grades, it's 20 marks for technical work, 18 marks for each of the pieces. Notice that's about half the exam. 8 marks each for general knowledge and the oral tests, and 10 marks for the sight reading. Then in the higher grades, it goes down, thank you for changing the screen, in the higher grades it goes to 18 marks for the technical work, 14 marks for the pieces because we now have 4 marks 4 pieces, and again, if you add them up quickly in your head, you'll see that's just over half the marks, and the oral, the sight reading, and the general knowledge don't change. You'll also see on the side, it says sight reading and improv, and as examiners, we need to tick that box. And Cynthia, when she's talking about filling out the forms, but I might just jump in and do that if that's okay.
Go, girl.
On the exam slip, as a teacher, you need to mark which pieces have been improvised and also tick the box that says sight reading or improvisation, so that we can then mark the report accordingly. And you never get a child who's prepared improvisation and we hand the poor little thing a sight reading. So make sure you do tick that on the exam slip. Then Tony's now put up the performance exam, and you can see that each piece is worth a quarter of the exam. So as Cynthia was saying, you do have to pull something special out for these exams. And we have 5 different criteria for each piece, which add up to the mark. We're only going to write 1 or 2 comments in the comment boxes, but then in the overall performance, that's where we're going to go into greater detail about your performance as a whole. So I love ANZCA because the examiners are friendly and they're nice to the kids. My favourite moment was very early in my career. I was in Taunton and I was examining a student. She was doing grade 4. I remember it clearly. She was the second student for the day. She was terrified. She was about 15. She couldn't play her scales for nuts, and I could tell she could do them. I could tell she was just paralysed with fear. So I just backed off for a minute and I said, "How's your day going, sweetheart?" And, "Oh, I see you've got a piece about a dog," or whatever it was. "Do you have any pets at home?" And just got her chatting for a couple of minutes. And then she had a go. And because I'd managed to get her to relax and calm down, she played them beautifully. And I felt so happy that I was able to enable that girl to play the scales. I get teary thinking about it. So we are so on the student side. So the examiners are friendly. The examining is super transparent because you've got the marks. The comments will always match the marks. And you know that the examining across the board is very fair because we got somebody watching over us to make sure we get it right, because we all strive to be the best we can be. I think I'm done about why I love ANZCA. So, you can have the exams in your own home. So exam day is party day at my place. I have other examiners who are my Facebook friends send me messages saying, "Please, can I come and do the chocolate exams?" I bake 8 double chocolate sponges filled with chocolate cream.
And she does, this is for real, the night before.
Yeah, so the day before is my baking day, and I usually photograph them because I'm so proud of them. And and I usually make a vanilla sponge as well, because there's always somebody who doesn't like chocolate. Can you believe that? And so the kids all get chocolate cake, and their parent who brings them do too. And we have a party upstairs after the exam, and we have sweets and we have lollies. And one year I baked Russian caramel, and the next time sticky toffee, and then another year chocolate fudge. So there's always some sweet and lollies and cakes, never before the exam because I don't want them on a sugar high when they go in. And so we have this lovely party atmosphere at my place, and the kids are so relaxed going down to the exam. And it was the year before last, and I'd been in hospital and I got a day pass out of hospital to come to my exams, and we're all sitting around the table, and I had someone else doing the running to take them up and down the stairs because I wasn't well enough. And at one moment I looked around the table and I was horrified. Every child had a parent. Every parent had a child. We were having so much fun that I forgot to send someone in for the exam. Whoops, the examiner was lovely. She said, "Oh, I just thought they were running late." But the thing is, by having it in your own home, the kids can play on the piano they're used to. There's nothing scary about going to a different centre, and it makes it a much more comfortable experience for the students. ANZCA is all about making it comfortable for the students. And also, occasionally, you might get a piece that you just can't find a student for, say, a list A, that you just can't find a piece to match the personality of that student. Tony, I'm really sorry I'm saying this because you might get inundated, but you can, only in exceptional circumstances, write to Tony and say, "Look, could I please have permission for student X to play piece Y for their grade 7 exam, because they really have fallen in love with this piece, and I've never seen Tony say no to such a request, but please don't make a habit of it or he's going to kill me. But it is really good thing to have. What amuses me, the Italian concerto that I love so much wasn't on the syllabus for years. I think I requested it so much it actually appeared on the syllabus in the next draft. So the office listens. Other boards really don't care, but the office really wants to help the students and they really want to help you as teachers. The office is so amazingly supportive. And I saw about an hour ago in the chat, one of the teachers put in that they've recently come over and they're blown away by the level of support they have had from the office. So take a bow, Tony and Peggy, because everyone loves what you do for us in the background.
Can I just say, I've got up on the screen a certificate that the child gets, or the student gets, at the completion of their prac exam, and it's really lovely. It's a beautiful certificate done on really nice thick paper, and it's something that you want to keep.
And the blue bit is embossed and raised up. It's really lovely.
Yes, and the other thing I really like is that it says student of. This one here says student of Andrew Craig's. Now, for my name to go on that certificate as well, it's awesome, because if you as teachers, you've done half the work as well. You've done the input, the child has done the practice, but if it wasn't for you, the child wouldn't be where they are. And I think it's a really lovely touch of ANZCA's to have the teacher's name on there. And one of our workshops we've just done recently, there was an examiner there, and they piped up and said, and you know that if you've got letters after your name, ANZCA will also include those on there. So I'll have to do that for my next ones, because I've had qualifications for many years, but I just didn't think they could go on there. So there you go. If you're teaching out there and you want your qualifications on, go for it.
Yes, just put exactly what you want on the entry form.
Yeah, on the entry form. Now, having said that, I just need to go and find these entry forms because I just haven't seen them. You said you sent them over, Tony, didn't you?
Apparently we've sent them out to everyone, but I don't think we've got them.
Oh, okay, everyone's got them, not up on a PDF. Okay, awesome. So let me just talk to you about the entries, because we do have, in our travels, we have found, in our travels, we found that teachers sort of fill them in incorrectly, unfortunately, and then it makes it hard if the office has gone ahead and done that unbeknownst to them, and then it lands in an examiner's lap under something. For example, I know the very first exam I went out to, it was down as a modern exam, but it actually wasn't a modern exam, it was a digital exam. And so that's a completely different kettle of fish, as Kerry explained in the beginning. So, you know, and that wasn't the office problem, that was because the teacher actually marked it down as that. So when you get your, if you have your form in front of you, if you see down the side, it's got instrument and then grade. Make sure that if you put piano in there, make sure that you've got modern or digital, or you want them to do performance, make sure you say that in that child's.
Yeah. Just this year we've introduced the video exam entry.
I was going to talk about that. Yes. Do you want to yep. Okay.
So you're talking about digital keyboard when you're saying digital.
Yes, digital keyboard. Yes. And so that's there's since COVID, and ANZCA made available a lot of examining through video examining last year, and it was amazing. I have to say, I went kicking and screaming to it because I had a lot of upper grades, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, what happens if something goes wrong? I had a 8th grader who was in grade 12, and that was his last bite of the cherry. So I was very anxious about putting them through for a video exam in case something went wrong. But I have to say, after all my kicking and screaming, and ANZCA being very supportive, it was a breeze. It was an absolute breeze to put them through as a video exam. So that option has remained out there for now, for the ever future, I imagine.
Probably,
so
yeah.
You have a choice of doing a face-to-face exam, so an examiner will come to your home or your studio or a centre, or you can apply to have a video exam. So I think that's a wonderful thing that option is still open, even though COVID's hopefully going away. So yeah, there's lots and lots and lots of things out there that, you know, make it easy. Now the other thing is, you should have had a blue form, which is the online shopping form. If you like any of the books, or you think you might like to try some of the books we showed you today, by all means, if you order by midnight tomorrow night, right, I'll give you 24 hours to do it. If you order by midnight tomorrow night, you will get 20% off the books and free postage. But they have to be in by midnight Monday night to get advantage of that little offer. And the other thing is the subscription form. You would have been given a subscription form in your package. Now, you don't have to be a registered teacher with ANZCA to put students in. If you don't want to be a registered teacher with ANZCA, you just want to put students in, that's fine. You can do that. You'll be given a teacher number, and you know, that's the end of that. But if you subscribe to ANZCA, and it's a yearly fee, you get 6 Stretto magazines. Now, they used to be in paperback form. They're digital now, but they are worth their weight in gold. They're absolutely fantastic. They have all the information in them, anything that's new, you know, like anything that's, you know, the diploma students that have graduated, like my theory student who won the scholarship, all that sort of thing goes in there. And also any new books that are out, and any articles. You know, I had to write an article once for one of the Strettos, which was on the art of memorisation. And that's a different story, I'll tell you another time. But, you know, they put out like composer profiles that, you know, you need a lot of information for the modern stream in particular, about, you know, information on a composer. And I was just talking about this to Tony. Stretto's been around since basically ANZCA started, and what, they're coming up to 40 years now, you said the other day, Tony?
Yeah, not too far away, I think.
Yeah, not too far away, 40. So I've got a lot of the older Strettos, and they had amazing profiles, especially if you're in the modern. You know, back then we didn't have Google and, you know, or Safari and all that sort of stuff, but they actually put out profile, and they're going to start redoing that. So because there's a lot of new teachers coming on board, and it's like awesome, right at your fingertips. So it's definitely being a.
Just one other thing with that, Cynthia.
Sorry.
Just one other thing with the composers. There's a page on the website.
That's what I was going to say.
I've just put the link into the chat if anyone wants to click it. It just
all right.
It outlines a lot of
there's lots of things on the website. We talked the other day too, when I was talking to the office and we were doing practice Zoom meetings, about starting up a Facebook page, an ANZCA's teachers Facebook page. Not that you have to be an ANZCA teacher to belong to that Facebook, but it would have, you know, just like other Facebook groups, it would have a lot of information and a lot of teachers jumping in to answer questions. So that's that too. So anyway, back to the subscription. Normally it's about $68 a year. For that, you also get, you can buy music any time of the year from ANZCA, and it's 15% off. Always. You go on a teacher database, so that if anyone rings up and says, oh look, I'm shifting to, you know, Mildura, I'm shifting to the Whit Sundays, I'm shifting wherever, is there an ANZCA teacher there? Yes, if you are a subscribed teacher, your name will be put forward, so that's also there. When we have a conference, now, ANZCA's had about 2 or 3 conferences. I think we started doing that. We were supposed to have one in the COVID year, unfortunately, that it got sort of kiboshed. But once we are up and running and able to have conferences and so forth again, you get a discount for that. You get a discount to come to that. You're not going to pay for the same as a teacher who's not an ANZCA registered teacher. So I think it's certainly worthwhile to do that. Let me think if there's anything else. I've spoken about the QCE, subscription online booking form, and no, I think that's about it. Now, we've got time left to answer some of these questions. So if you've got any questions, please let us know if you want to know about anything else. And like I said, our names and numbers, you know where we are, right? You know where we are. You know where the office is. You know where Kerry is. You know where I am. And we've got, now I can only speak for Queensland because I'm the state rep for Queensland. I can't speak for any other state, but I know that they're just as good, right? We've got local reps in all of the areas up and down the coast in Queensland. So I think I've got about 10 or 11 reps, and it's just amazing because you're just there. The reps are all accessible. You can ring up, and that would be the same for the other states as well. So we're only a phone call away. We're only a Zoom meeting away. We're only a FaceTime call, right? We're an email away. We're not that far away. So if you've got any questions, especially if we don't get around to all of them today, please email us. And as Tony promised in the beginning, we'll be going through every one of those questions and answering them, whether we do it now or whether we do it by email later in the week. So can I'll just ask Kerry to throw out her challenge like she normally does at the wind up of our meetings. And yep, throw out your challenge, girl.
Okay, so I have a challenge for each and every one of you. Some of you might have heard what we've said and gone, wow, I want to try this. Others of you might be going, I'm still not certain. My challenge to you is pick a student, any student you've got, and put one student, at least one student, in for an ANZCA exam this year. And what I would like you to do is observe what happens to that student. I would like you to observe the reaction you get when they come out of their exam compared to other boards, and I would like you to see what they think of their report, because I guarantee if you do a test run with one student, you will want to put more people in. That's all I'm asking. I would love each and every one of you to put in one student as a test case and just see what happens, because you will never look back. I didn't. I knew nothing about this and I never looked back. But if you don't try it, you will never find out how awesome it is.
Absolutely. Alrighty. So yeah, if you want to take advantage of the subscription, jump in and send that along as well. If you want books today. Also, another little incentive, if you actually put in a book order before midnight tomorrow night, but emailing it, you will get, there's a CD. Now, I noticed very quickly, I haven't been going through the questions because I've been too busy yakking, but one of the questions was, it's a shame that, you don't have the, where you can sort of get to hear the pieces. And I noticed Tony put up something about the YouTube, but we also have a recording done of all the Series 2 Modern Stream exams. And they've been done by Dr. Robert Keane. I don't know, I'm sure that some of you know him, and it's been done by him. So one of those is a complimentary CD for you if you put in a book order. And if you want to state which grade you want, they are for sale. You can if you kind of go, oh gosh, I'd like them all, well, you can have one for free and you buy the others. So, but if you just go, oh, I'd like to try one just to try one out, then you choose which one. You just put that on your order.
Syllabus, isn't it, Cynthia, for the modern?
Sorry?
Piano. It's for the modern piano syllabus.
Yeah, for the modern. Yeah.
So,
the modern syllabus. Yeah. Sorry, Tony, you're a little soft. So that's there as an incentive as well. And I don't know, have you drawn the $100 voucher?
We've drawn the $100 voucher, and the winner is Elizabeth Chu from New South Wales.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Yes. So there you go. All right. Well, just you can contact the office, or the office will contact you, and you'll have $100 to spend. Gosh, if you do it today, that you'll get the 20% off as well. All righty. So, all right. So, can we quickly go for some questions?
Somebody's asked, are the exam results the same regardless of whether it's video or face-to-face? Well, with the video exams, we have the scales and we have the pieces, but the other areas are not there. So the marking system is slightly different. Tony, would you like to talk to that?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So we've introduced, it's really going to be a new category of exam now. That's going to be a 6th category, Kerry. Because on the certificate now, because not all the requirements of the face-to-face exam are being covered, we're going to put in brackets after the instrument name video. So that just kind of indicates that it's a different type of exam. So on the report and on the certificate, it'll say Kerry Vann, modern piano, in brackets, video, but everything else will be the same.
Is it weighted the same, Tony?
Well, there's obviously more weight that goes on to the performance of the pieces now and the scales, because we've just kind of, allocated the marks between those sections only.
To my knowledge, Tony, for the lower grades it's 25 marks for each, and for the higher grades it's 20 marks for each?
Yes, that's including technical work. Yeah. Now, and the standard of examining is exactly the same as what it is for the face-to-face exam.
And can I throw in something there too? I know that some teachers are a bit concerned that if it's a video exam, that means that the examiner will listen to it over and over again, and so they'll pick up every mistake, whereas in a live performance you wouldn't. Trust me, when we get the video exams, we've got enough to do listening to them once. We will not be listening to them over and over again. And the other thing we need to say too is that the exam needs to be done in one take. So you can't, if you make a mistake in your list C, you can record the whole thing again, but you can't record the scales as one take and then list A as one take. You have to record the entire exam in one take.
Yes, and we're hoping you don't even go back and try and record the whole exam again, otherwise you'll miss the deadline for your upload. So,
that's right, because there is a very strict deadline for the upload.
But it's not a big deal if they've mucked up the list C and have to start it again. I mean, it's a one or 2 point deduction if they end up playing anyway. So it's not, it's not the end of the world.
It'd be just the same as if it was a face-to-face exam and they had to restart.
Yeah.
And can I just throw in, do we listen to it over and over? Trust me, you only get, as examiners, we only get paid by the grade, if you know what I'm saying. So each grade's a certain amount of time, and then they add up that time, and that's how much you get paid for. You get paid by the hour of the actual program. Now, if you take longer to do that, you're not going to get paid for that. So no examiner is going to kind of spend time going over and over and over and over a piece, because they're not going to get paid for that.
Yeah, but just from an admin point of view, we are going to make it a requirement for examiners that videos are only listened to once. It'll be something that's signed moving forward, because it has been raised. I don't think anyone's really sitting there and listening to them 10 times, but
I don't think we've got time.
We're making it a policy that examiners don't do that. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm just going to go down. There's a couple of questions I can see, and I'm going from the top. Are we using the 2018 to 20 syllabus? Yes, at the moment. The covers, like we explained in the face-to-face workshops, and I forgot, Victoria, where our headquarters are, went into 7 months lockdown, and they had to all work from home. And so that made it very difficult to, push on with, the new syllabus covers and so forth and so on. And especially the modern, I'm again talking to the keyboard, especially the modern, it lasts for 3 years plus a changeover year. So, like I say, it lasts for 3 years. The new syllabus comes out. During that year, can use the old syllabus, so it really lasts for 4 years. But the modern stream especially changes, because what was modern, and especially in the pop and rock, what was, flavour of the month back then is now not flavour of the month. It's something else. So that does change. But that couldn't happen this year because COVID caused havoc last year. Now everybody's back in the office. That's going to be worked on. The other thing we forgot to mention: each teacher gets a handbook each year, and that is available. It's available on the website, and it can be available as a hard copy, and it tells you all the regulations that you need. I noticed someone was saying about a keyboard, and they've got a touch sensitive or something, and you know, how long will that last them? That's all in the handbook, and it's also in the syllabus, I think.
Yeah, I think it's in the syllabus as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all in the handbook as well. And at the back of the handbook is all the dates and the closing dates for exam entries, and when you've got to have them in by, and also the prices that go with that. So that's all in the handbook, and that's available online, or you can request a hard copy from the office. Right.
Asking Cynthia about a discount code for the website, but they need to place their order by email to receive the discount.
So all you would
They can't place it on the website. Yeah.
So all you would need to do is print out the blue order form that you've been sent and then fill that in. And I'd just take a screenshot because that's easier for me than scanning. Take a screenshot and email it. It won't take long.
And that way you've got a record of what you've put in.
I'm concerned about payment, I suppose. You know,
well,
like
on the back you can put your credit card.
If you're not comfortable doing that, you can call the office. I'll put the number here now.
Yeah, you can just call the office if you're not comfortable doing that. Now, do you have to use pieces from the syllabus book, or can you choose pieces just from the list? Now, I guess you mean from the ANZCA book that we demonstrated out of today. No, you don't have to use those if you don't want to. If you've got a lot of pieces that are on the manual list, you just choose them from there. You don't have to. But you can mix and match. It doesn't matter. If you've got the book, you can use it. If you haven't, you just want the manual list, you can do that too. So it's completely up to you. I understand the students can slip off the black notes onto the white notes. I'm not really sure what that question means there. Are there any ever workshops to help us classically trained, love to read the music exactly, musicians who would like to learn more about improv and embellishing? Well, Kerry and I did a webinar. Now, where was it for, Kerry?
It was for Indonesia.
Indonesia, okay. Kerry and I did a specific webinar for Indonesia that we were asked by the office to do, and I think we went up to grade 5, didn't we?
We did, and we chose 2 pieces each from each grade, and it took us about 3.5 hours.
Yes, and we actually did do that. So if you would like that kind of, and I didn't record it at the time because I wasn't the host, and if you want that kind of thing, just email into the office, and I'm sure we can put something out there, can't we?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a big learning curve today. Hopefully, we can do even better next time. But
yeah. So yeah, the short answer is yes. Yes, we can do something to help you. No worries. Christopher Norton often runs workshops like that, and they are fantastic. And yes, he used to come out every year at the invitation of ANZCA and run workshops like that. Unfortunately, COVID's got in the road, so maybe by about 2022 we might be able to do something similar. It'll depending on what's COVID's like, I guess. That's governing the whole world at the moment. Is this from Improvisation for Piano book? Not really sure about that. The improvisation that we did today was from the improvisation book and the jazz syllabus book, and then what Kerry and I demonstrated on the pieces is just what we do normally for students and just generally for students. So yeah, we did it out of books. Do you know what I mean?
So the improvisation book is called Modern Piano for Improvisation.
Yes. What other patterns besides stride bass are options at this level? I think Kerry's answered that one. There's heaps. And again, if you get hold of, look, there's all suggestions in the front of the improvisation book. We didn't put up all of the examples, but there's all, and you've got the CD in the front. There's heaps and heaps to choose from. And as I said, if you get hold of Daniel McCullen's Pop School, for every piece he's got in his book, he gives 4 patterns to go with that. It's worth its weight in gold. It just slips so nicely. It's like the hand in the glove for the ANZCA improvisation. It's fantastic. Please write the name of the book mentioned. Okay, well, it was
some of those
improvisation. It's improvisation. Hang on, let me just grab it. My internet connection is unstable, it's telling me. No. Okay, Modern Piano Forte Improvisation. That's what it is, and it's the red book. Right? If anyone's looking and that's your question, grade 2 to associate performer. Okay. Someone said, I love the fun aspect of ANZCA. Yeah, we do too. That's why we teach it. Was the backing track a metronome? Missing the grade level? Okay.
There was one important question there, Cynthia. What's the time frame for upload of a video exam? There are time limits that we send out to you, and I can't remember exactly what they are. I think it might be 20 minutes after a low-grade exam. But if you're having trouble, you just need to contact the office and just let us know that you're having trouble. And, you know, allowances will be made. So just stay in touch with us if it's becoming a problem. That's all we ask.
Tony, on that, just as a rough guide, if they've done their whole program and they take 15 minutes to upload, that's about the time. We've given them basically 15 minutes to upload after the program finishes.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that we have a practice session for uploading your video. So students can send in a practice video and practice uploading it. And we'll look at the practice video and give them any guidance on the, you know, the position of the camera in relation to the piano and the hands and all that kind of thing. So they, you know, hopefully you've practiced it before you get to exam day and it's all good.
Okay, I just can't see any more questions. More.
If anyone's really keen for another question, can you just type it again down the bottom and we'll answer it then.
Someone said they'd like a theory webinar generally, please. Does that mean teaching it? Yeah.
We could, that could be done, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially over Zoom, yeah.
Okay, are recordings of the modern and classical ANZCA piano books accessible on Spotify like other boards?
Well, I did answer that in bits and pieces. I wasn't sure if I was speaking to everyone or just that person at that point. But there is a link. Well, the first thing is we've got the CDs for the modern syllabus up to grade 6. So they're a really good resource. And then there are some resources on YouTube and also some on SoundCloud. And that's actually at the front of the syllabus. That's printed there. I was just looking at the syllabus before. Let me find it. Yeah, on the very first page, it's actually just after the contents page, so page 3, it's got links to Facebook and it's got links for YouTube and it hasn't got the link for SoundCloud. So although SoundCloud we've discovered is mostly for the drum performance, and someone else pointed out that if you search particular composers, you can find video recordings just that they've done personally. Yeah, hope that's a help.
Yep. Plus, of course, you've got the CDs.
But the CDs, yeah, but only for modern, not for classical.
No.
But the thing with classical is, I mean, you punch it into YouTube, you're more than likely going to get some performances.
Absolutely, because I get all my kids to listen to YouTube, but I make sure I vet who they're listening to first.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said here, can I have the picture or title of the jazz book by Christopher Norton again, please, someone? That is the jazz syllabus. That's what it's called. It's on the book, form, and it's right at the back, I think. Jazz syllabus 1, jazz syllabus 2, and it's for the different instruments, etc.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link. I'll put the link there again.
Okay.
And when you say syllabus, you tend to think of a syllabus in the traditional sense. The jazz syllabus is actually the whole book with all the pieces and all the notes on what you
Yes.
need to do. And there's an introduction that tells you everything you need to know. It's a what to do introduction. And then each piece has its own specific notes in addition to that, plus all of the music for all of the pieces in there. So next time we reprint, maybe we should change the title from Syllabus to something else, because that is misleading for people who don't know.
Yeah. So we'll send the video link via email to everyone once we get it organised.
Yep.
For this meeting.
Okay. So is there any other questions that someone...
There's a new one down the bottom there, Cynthia. For embellishment for grade 3 and above, is there a certain expectation because it's higher grade, or anything that you show can still be accepted for higher grades? So more about the higher grades, I suppose.
Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
Can I go to that one? And then Cynthia can follow in. Yes, there is an expectation. What you would do for a lower grade is certainly not what you would do for a higher grade. I've got a student currently preparing for a modern diploma, and he's doing the long and winding road. And loads of that piece is, in my opinion, about grade 3 or 4 level. And the reason that piece is there is because it gives you massive scope for improvisation. So this student is actually working through multiple drafts. His brief is every time he comes to a lesson, have something new written out. And he's virtually taking the actual music as a template and then playing it straight the first time, and then on the repeat virtually rewriting it into something much more complicated based on the template of the music. So yes, there is a much higher expectation for the higher levels with the improvisation and embellishment within the piece. Would you like to take the ball, Cynthia?
Oh, sorry, I was reading the questions. And I wasn't really listening to what you were saying.
Well, hopefully what I said made sense to the person who asked the question.
Okay.
And examining, I've had students come in and actually hand me an entire page that they've rewritten so that I can follow their embellishment, where they've totally gone off book and taken it as an improvisation within the piece. And when you look at some of the pieces in the higher grades, you think, wow, that is way too easy for this grade. But that's so that there is the opportunity to put your own stamp on it and make it your own.
One of the questions is, will the jazz syllabus books be around for a while? The short answer is yes. Yes, they're part of the
Paid a lot of money for those, so they'll be around for a while.
Yep.
A while. We're going to get it back.
So Peggy's saying email your orders to the office, and Peggy and Kirsten will sort it out for you. No drama, okay? Because someone said back from New Zealand, will we get the discount? Yep, just send it into the office and they will sort it out with the time differences and so forth.
And somebody has said, are they supposed to write in their embellishments? No, they don't have to. Sometimes years ago, like 30 years ago when I started examining, we were told that you can ask the children, what did you add to this piece? But I stopped doing that after about a decade because it really threw the kids. And we all know the pieces inside out, so we know where they've done the embellishment. But just as a teacher, put a star next to it on the exam slip. But no, there is no expectation to write it in. If they want to, by all means they can. And for my jazz solos today, to make sure I didn't do a different thing, because every time I play them it changed, you might have noticed an ambling man. Yeah, I invented something different because I could. So if they want to write some notes to themselves, they can, but by no means is that mandatory.
Mm-hmm. Now there's another question down here from Russell Stringer. Is there a prospect for modern guitar to, 1, introduce more improvisation in early grades, and 2, have a jazz syllabus? Tony, can you answer that one?
Yeah, no, there's no plan at the moment.
Okay.
It's the comment we'll take on board. We're actually discussing the updated syllabus with Dale at the moment, so it's something I can mention. And I don't think there's anything wrong with students presenting embellishment in their pieces. I don't think they'll be penalised. But it is something I need to check out more. I'm a little bit vague, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Someone from New Zealand. I will be purchasing books from a New Zealand representative. How do I get the discount?
I think it's best if they email the office, then we'll direct the email to the rep and let them know
Okay.
what's going on.
So, yep. Right, can I ask about online exam preparatory to grade 3? Is it just technical scales and pieces? No oral, general knowledge or sight reading?
Yes, for video exams.
For
Yes.
video exams.
So that's the same in every level. It's only technical work and pieces.
Okay, for that level.
I think we're just about there, Cynthia. I did ask.
I think so. If there's
go.
anyone, we can go through this, and if there's something we don't think we've answered, we can address and email that person. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Arthur, is that music?
Where can I find more information about the process re video exams? Love it that there is an opportunity for uploading a practice exam.
I think we're good. I think we're good, Cynthia. I think
Okay.
because I did ask people if they had anything to rewrite it at the bottom, and I think we've got through all that. But of course, anyone can email the office with any question anytime,
Yes.
or Cynthia or Kerry. That's fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I hope everyone's had a lovely time. We love doing these workshops, don't we, Kerry?
Absolutely love it. I could do this all day, every day. I love talking about ANZCA and I love talking to teachers. And so if any of you do have questions, as Cynthia said, please telephone us. With me, if you telephone, just leave a message, because I don't answer a number I don't know because there's so many scammers, but leave me a message and say, hey, I'm from the workshop, can you call me back? And I just love chatting with people because I'm very passionate about this. So please don't hesitate to call us if you want to chat about any aspect of today.
Yeah, look, thanks everyone for coming today. And look, thanks so much, Cynthia and Kerry. You've done a wonderful job today. You really have. You're so positive, and it's always a kind of sense of positivity after you guys are talking. So thanks for all that.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. But my only regret is that it's online and we can't actually meet the people in person.
It is. Yeah, we should be having a cuppa and something.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And yeah, send your email, your questions into the office, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, I played the piano again.